Right, onto the street talk section then. A fairly good week this week, I thought. I keep surprising myself by how I'm invested in the Lauren disappearance storyline I'm getting now.
I really am. So I'm loving this.
It's taken a long time to warm up, but like I said on the short earlier, they have been piecing this together for a very long time. I guess there was so much that we didn't realise, like when she was propositioning Roy.
Yes. Now, hang on. I want to ask people this because I had a memory of something and I couldn't work out where, if I'd spoken about it on the podcast or if it's spoken to you about it or what, but I can't remember any more details than this other than there was a scene with Daniel and Maria in the cafe, I'm pretty sure, and Roy was there maybe, or somebody was there, and they were talking about Lauren and some kind of meeting or some kind of date that...
Well, Daniel did say that he was speaking to Maria, didn't he, when he was trying to get an alibi for this week, or this week.
Yes, but does anyone remember when that was? Because I remember joking about them trying to work out their alibis. And I can't remember whether this was just before or just after she disappeared.
And we haven't bothered to go back and look.
I have. No, Michael, I sat there and I listened to the podcasts.
Did you really?
3 podcasts I tried to listen to find out whether I mentioned it, and I don't think I mentioned it on the street talk. But does anybody remember what I'm talking about?
And what they said? We might be able to find it online somewhere. This is kind of what I mean about all the little clues they've been putting in. Even going back, like with when Daniel was in the interview room on Wednesday, and they were bringing back stuff about him with Nikki and Summer, and it really does make sense if you piece it all together.
Yeah,
I think they've done a really, really good job. So we're going to start off with chatting around that storyline first. I've called it Cropper and the Copper because I don't know whether Bolton Wanderer really fits anymore. Bolton Murderer doesn't have the same ring. Bolton Wanderer, because I wonder what's happened to her. Maybe.
It could be 2 croppers and a copper.
Who's the other one?
Well, she's a cropper now, isn't she?
Yeah, she could actually come a cropper. Yeah. Next up, I want to talk about this institute story, the Leanne Institute. I'm calling it for the storyline because this is a brand new story that's come out of the blue, and we saw it in the previews last week. I've tried to avoid the previews, but I don't know why I saw this one particularly, and I thought this sounds kind of fresh and different, and of course it harks back to the foundation. What was it called? The Cult of Nirab Etheric Foundation back in the late 90s. And I'm like, I think I'm in the mood for this kind of story, actually. And I wasn't disappointed today whatsoever.
Oh, what a load of great jargon. And does everyone agree with me that Rowan, the guy who's in charge of the Institute, looks like if America was in charge of casting David Platt?
You did put out a tweet with that picture, and I see what you mean.
He's got the floppy hair. He's got the beard.
Just a bit more rugged.
He looks the same to me.
we follow him on Instagram now. We do. We found him this week. I can't remember. I'm really sorry.
Scoop.
Then we will do the Papa Dom story because that was in it all week. Lee and Mia, really, this stuff with Roy and Daniel and Swain took out the lion's share of the stories this week. So then we just had a few little ones. So there was a bit of the bullying storyline, a little bit more of the targeted ad storyline, which is Adam. Actually, this next one shouldn't be so low down. We got the I don't know whether we've called the story to do with Linda a money lender Linda before, because that's all she seems to be doing, throwing money about.
It's not like an obvious name, money lender Linda.
Why? Or just money lender. I don't know. Or I thought I could call it based after the fact that Joseph isn't making good progress in his education. Joseph stalling. Yeah. Just to tie into the fact that Russia's got an election going on at the moment. Apparently this is the longest presidency in Russia since Stalin.
Well, it's a good job they're doing it demographically. Democratically.
So democratic. So democratic. Don't nuke us.
I do think they probably got demographic and democratic mixed up, and they thought they were doing it right because they just said everybody here voted for him.
There was also a little bit of the Tommy Orpington story, just to fill up a bit of time this week.
Do you think we've got any listeners in Russia?
I don't know. Maybe this is our chance to find out. If the intelligence are listening to us. Oh, that's an email from them now saying,
Putin
we are onto you. That was a bad impression. Good job. And no, I'm not going to go any further with this before we get ourselves into trouble. Gemma,
yes,
I would love for you to take charge of the Cropper
I would love to
and
as
the
well.
Copper storyline this week. So, for the benefit of the tape, I've already used that one on the last podcast. I just realised. Can you recount the movements of Roy and Swain and Daniel and Bobby and Max this week?
Yes, I can. Listen. But I'm going to say to everybody, we're plotting and planning a bonus episode that is going to have all the information that you need about who done what and when and who it could be and what's happened. Okay? So we will have a big discussion about it. We're going to talk about it today as well, but we're going to go into depth. And I have been trying to find out some of the details, and there's been a lot of chat online, but nobody's really tried to put together a big list of clues. So that's what we're going to do. Otherwise, we'd have copied it. Right, so on Monday, Roy's upstairs.
Cropper and the Copper and the Copier. That would be.
That's me, yeah. Well, no, it's not me.
It would be.
It would be. The would-be copier. Roy's upstairs with a bad back after humping all the boxes you've written.
Gemma's not claiming anything
Humping.
from this. Roy's been humping all night.
Bobby...
He's been humping Lauren's box, hasn't he? That's what Swain's
Give
saying.
me a bit of a
anyway.
blanket. I'm getting chill effect here. Bobby promises Carla that he's going to focus on the factory now. Because I think that he's sort of decided... Now, he kind of comes to the idea that she's left, doesn't he, at the beginning of the week, but by the end of the week he's back full on.
I found that Bobby had quite a volte-fast turnabout this week, because last week when he found Roy cleaning up for that, he was like, what the bloody hell are you doing here? Get out, you don't have any right. I've known Lauren for 3 weeks or so, I should be the one that's here, get out. But this week he was a little bit more, hey, I'm Team Roy.
No, he wasn't.
He was a little bit more, slightly.
Sean and the landlord come round to look at the flat, and that's not the landlord from the prison, that's the actual landlord. It wasn't the return of...
No.
What's his
Jim
face?
McDonald.
Jim McDonald.
Yeah, Sean's been kicked out of his house by Eileen, hasn't he? So he's looking for some other digs. And it's crossed over very nicely with this story. I did like it when they did.
Yeah, I did like that. So the landlord's quite impressed with how clean it was, because that's the reason why Roy had to clean it, because he kicked off. So he's saying, somebody's come and tidied it up. He doesn't know the first thing about Roy and Evelyn, really. Sean's looking around and he's like, oh, it's a bit not what I'm used to. I like a nice purple colour scheme in the front room.
Yeah, Eileen keeps a tight ship, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. But then he spots, and we thought he was just looking at the curtains because they're hideous, but actually the pattern isn't supposed to have bloodstains on it, which was quite surprising.
You got to be a trained eye, haven't you? We would never cut the mustard.
Well, they kept going, what's that over there? And pointing, and we were like, what are they pointing at? I don't understand.
It was this hideous 80s, 90s-esque curtain.
I don't know.
It looked like it had been marble painted.
It just looked like, black. It looked like black, didn't it? But it's not. It's blood. Or he wonders what it is.
We saw
and there was some marks on the wall,
underneath, and we saw that. But it wasn't until later in the episode that we noticed. And then when they showed it, it was like maybe obvious. a bit more obvious.
But it was really frustrating. And this happens to be sometimes in movies too, where you're looking at something and then you realise that you should have been looking somewhere else. Anyway, the guy says that Evelyn's going to have to get it professionally cleaned and pay out, and Sean's not loving this at all. He flounces out saying he's going to think about it. When he goes back to the factory, he says, we're a dump and there were stains everywhere. Could have been anything. Paint, blood. Now, I thought I remembered when Roy was cleaning up, I'm fairly sure there was a massive blood stain on the carpet, but now I think maybe I hallucinated.
No, there definitely was.
Well,
I think
that was the most obvious bit, though. Why were they going, what's this on the curtain? I'd be like, why is there a massive stain on the floor?
No, I think that they might have mentioned that, but maybe I'm making that up. Again, also why I would not be a good copper, because I think, maybe somebody said something. Does that count as evidence?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. There was definitely some kind of fracas there, wasn't there?
Yeah, wow.
And it is kind of adding more weight to the theory that maybe Lauren's possibly a bit poorly at the moment.
She might be
nursing a sore head.
Oh yeah, okay. Carla's taken aback. She's a bit worried because she's been hearing Bobby go on and been trying to tell him that everything's fine. Sally starts spreading the gossip, and Beth and Carla hear this, and Daisy's starting to wonder as well whether something's really happened.
Yeah, people are putting together the pieces.
So Bobby and Max are in Carla's flat when she comes in. There's a thing about Max having himself some fake ID, and I don't know if that's going to come into it later, but they were just...
Oh, yeah, they were. They were going to go into town,
weren't they? He had a fake name on there. So
yeah, Carla came in wanting to talk to Bobby, and yeah, that kind of derailed what him and Bobby were about to get up to. You're right.
Clue.
That's a clue. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Don't think so.
But...
Right, remember all these details.
Mm-hmm.
So, she says, I need to talk to you about Lauren. Then we cut to Craig and Swain having a banter about something or other.
I can't remember what it was, but...
She's like, I'm a main character now.
I can't remember when it was.
Work.
They talk about what their favourite takeaway is or something at one point.
They were definitely talking about food.
Yeah. But this was Swain's first week as a regular character, and right from that first scene... I don't know whether anyone else is the same, but I really got a sense of...
She felt different.
She did,
yeah.
Ever so slightly. She was still very much herself, especially when she was interviewing and arresting, but this kind of off-the-record...
she wasn't just talking about...
Police
a
stuff.
Case, yeah.
No.
So that was new for Swain.
Yeah. Liked it.
Spring rolls. It's new. So, their banter is interrupted by Carla and Bobby arriving at the front desk so Bobby can demand action because Lauren's been missing for 2 weeks. It might be more because football's just confused me, he says. Back at the pub...
He didn't say that, but I'm saying it.
No, I know that was a joke. Some of the things I say happened were just jokes.
Okay.
I hope the audience knows that by this point because they would have been really confused over the last, 12 years, 11 years?
Oh,
how did that happen again?
I didn't mute it last time.
Okay.
Sorry. Russia is getting quite insistent now.
We're bribed. We're so easily bribed. Just send us money. We'll shut up. And that goes for everyone too. If you get enough money out of doing this, we will not do it anymore. I promise you.
You're always obsessed.
Yeah.
You're obsessed.
I like being able to pay for food. Bobby's concerned about Lauren, he says, in the pub because of the blood. So, Swain and Craig go to investigate at the flat and they're like, look at these bloodstains all over this all over these curtains. That
was the point where we were like, oh yeah,
I can see them now. Thank you, sweet. See, you need an expert. That's why we need Swain. So she can go, this is blood, not a pattern. She also points out that it looks like...
Do you think she brought along the Laura Ashley catalogue with her and is flicking through the pages
it doesn't match.
There's nothing.
It's supposed to be peonies and it doesn't. It looks like an abstract 80s painting. She says something about blood splatter looking like it went splashed up or something like that. And I think...
she said something along the lines of this...
She said,
it looks like someone was bonked on the noggin. Was basically the gist.
It's a noggin bonk.
Of her
We've got a noggin bonk! We've got a noggin bonk! Everyone get out! So, got Swain and Craig go up to Carla's flat later. It's really hard to say Swain and Craig together.
How about Craig and Swain?
Swain and Craig. They go to see...
Swag is their shipping name.
Not Crane.
No.
Go to see Bobby and he brings up the fact that Lauren had a secret ex who she was scared of and that Roy cleaned the flat the other day. And Swain finds this very interesting and Bobby's trying to defend Roy for some reason, even though
this is what I said. This is what I said. By
Don't
this point, Bobby was saying, "Oh, yeah, no, he's just a nice guy.
Don't
he's
be a flip-flopper."
I don't. It was peculiar.
Yeah.
I saw somebody saying online earlier that could Bobby potentially be a suspect, and are we all being mega hoodwinked here?
He's on my list.
Is he really?
I wrote a list. Yes, I told you I started making notes for this bonus episode.
I think that's. I'd like it to be Nathan.
It's obviously not him. It's obviously not
but
Bobby.
I really would love it if it was a massive trick and we were really supposed to find him mega creepy and a bit pervy, which we all kind of did, didn't we, at the beginning?
Coronation
and it turns out that he's actually the leader of the sex ring that she's got herself involved in.
Sex ring.
Keep going.
If it turns out that Coronation Street says, "Oh, you were supposed to find Bobby weird all along," I'll say, "Liars! I don't think that at all. I think you wanted us to like him, and it didn't work."
And then we're like, "Quick, let's change it. Let's make him the mega perv."
Yes. Right. So after the break, they're all at the cafe and they're quizzing Roy, and he says why he had to sack Lauren
because of the
looking
cash. Around in the purse,
looking in Bethany's bag, and then they say, "Oh, sorry, no." It's not. It's there at the cafe. It's Swain and...
Yeah.
I know, but I said they. It could have been anybody.
Oh.
Swain and Craig. And it's an informal interview. And she's saying, well, why'd you give her a job in the first place? You sound like such a good Samaritan. And Roy, I think, is cagey here. He's not quite buying Swain's good cop routine. And he says, I don't know if you watch this show, love, but that's what I do, taking
you ever heard
people.
of Becky Granger?
Yeah.
Says Roy.
Ever heard of Kelly? She's in Doctor Who now.
Yeah.
Anyway, looks like someone who's struggling.
I did appreciate that nod to Becky. She didn't get a name check, but we know who was talking about, didn't we?
She was on the cusp of turning her life around.
It was almost also kind of like her, everybody. Like Lauren. She's just like Becky. You liked Becky, didn't you? This new character's exactly the same.
I think that ship sailed. Right, so he said, the only reason that I cleaned the flat was because Evelyn faced a fine if I didn't. And Swain's like, And she does it even bigger, when he says that Lauren's clothes were in the wash in his house, in his flat. He's just cleaning them as well. Because they say, oh, can we have her stuff? And he's like, yep, just getting rid of the evidence right now up there. And then they say, can we have your fingerprints on file, please?
No, they don't. They say that they've got his fingerprints on file because he's been arrested before for getting his gun out in the supermarket, among other things, I think.
He's done loads of stuff. Just to discount him from his inquiries. And then doesn't he say something like, oh, you won't get any fingerprints off me because I use gloves?
Yeah. This was Roy's, this was his line all week that he had to backpedal from somewhat because, as we know, he did pick up the condom wrapper. And also, which hasn't been mentioned yet, this little statue. Was she hit on the head with the statue? Well, they reckon that she was hit on the head with a chair, they said in today's episode. It can do a lot of damage if you throw it with enough speed.
I don't think so. There's no point using that sort of thing to hit somebody with.
There's got
you
to
might
be
as well just punch them.
There's got to be something with that statue. Is the statue still in the flat? I don't even know. Because the fact that Roy was picking it up and handling it on the episode before when she disappeared.
Oh, I think
he was
maybe
getting
it'll
all his
just
prints
be. Hang on,
over it.
maybe it's just going to be. Well, you said you only went there once, and you wore gloves, and the only thing you touched without gloves was the condom wrapper. Now we find another thing with your fingerprints on. You expect to believe that?
Well, there was the notes. There was the bank notes with as well, wasn't there? With his fingerprints.
It's all adding up, baby.
I was wondering like whether she
write this down because
did she take the statue with her and has dropped it somewhere? I don't know, but there's definitely it has not appeared since the supposed bludgeoning, and Roy might have picked it up, and I think if they'd wanted us to know that he'd found it, they would have shown him with it. So
they made a big deal of it the first time, unless it's one of these things that they don't even realise they're doing.
No, that is no way a red herring. There's gonna something.
No, but I sometimes they do things which we say are red herrings, but actually it's just them going, no, we're being arty. But that's happened before.
He's just contemplating the statue.
Just talking about life and looking at a statue. So the police go, and Roy tells Carla, Bobby and Nina about what happened, and they're just going to have to say, well, we have to wait. And Bobby wants to go back to the precinct to see if he can see anything. And when he gets there, Max is already there, and the police are putting tape up all around the flat. So
this was this is when the camera started going a bit funny again, didn't it? Even I can't remember.
I didn't notice it.
No. The forensics bit was mega noticeable.
Okay, well I didn't notice.
Yeah, they seems like every time they want to do something arty or do here's an important scene, everybody they get out this fancy camera that I still didn't like this week. But yeah, they had Wednesday's episode starting in the same way, didn't they? Were Max and Bobby? Did they stay sitting on the swings all night?
Yep. Suspicious, no.
Because it was definitely sunrise
Maybe.
by the time Wednesday's episode started.
Yes, they did.
Okay, just checking.
Almost like they're trying to make sure that they don't find something. Like they might have done something themselves. Mm-hmm. So the forensics go into the flat and they all look like Oompa Loompas in the TV room. Mm-hmm. And somebody's found the £200 in tenors under the mattress. And this is very suspicious. Why would you not take that with you?
If you're doing a
runner. Swain tells Craig that she is very suspicious of Roy, and Craig says, no, he's just weird and nice. And then they decide to do the luminal. Now, I was really hoping for more here, but I guess maybe because it's...
I thought it was good for Corey.
Maybe because it was before 9 o'clock, but I kind of wanted the whole place to light up.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I bet you there's more stains than they showed us, because that sofa's seen some action, hasn't it?
I thought that it was going to be like...
How can you tell the difference?
But literally, they only...
Well, we know we know somebody's done something
unspeakable acts.
On that sofa.
Well, if not her, then Evelyn.
That's what I said, someone.
No, but literally, I think the only stain that we saw got glowed up was the one that we'd already noticed. It's like, so this black mark here, it glows blue when we spray the stuff on it.
It isn't paint, it's blood.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was quite exciting.
Yeah, I love that. This is why I'm so excited about this, because this is like a true crime story. It's like a murder mystery. I love it.
Well,
I'm really into it.
It's not like a murder mystery.
Well, no, it isn't, because you don't know if she's dead.
Don't know if she's dead.
So, take that. On Wednesday, we get another, like, creepy little start as the forensics are leaving the scene of the crime at sunrise. And Max and Bobby are there, like a pair of loiterers. They go to the cafe later, and Sabrina is texting Max to say, we should tell the police about Lauren's Ovids account, because although you think that it should be private, safety trumps privacy. This
was odd for a few reasons. Like, Bobby was so insistent that they shouldn't tell her. I'm wondering...
Tell Swain.
Tell Swain. Which is, it could be another reason why Bobby's starting to look a bit more suspicious. And he is. He's mega sus. Like, did he actually follow Lauren on it before? Is he going to out himself as an evil Ovid subscriber?
Oh no!
And is he involved? I don't know, because Sabrina's absolutely right here. If she's potentially murdered, if he's showing all signs that he's mega concerned about her, you should really tell them absolutely everything.
I know, it really annoyed me how po-faced they're being about this, because, like I said last week, sex workers are one of the most vulnerable groups in society. If they knew that she was a sex worker, they would be a bit more concerned about where she is.
But the other thing that kind of irked me a little bit about this was Sabrina's text-only appearance.
I know. I don't want to always rag on Bobby, but it does annoy me that he's basically replaced Sabrina and
he has. He's and Gav.
I wanted Gav. I like them both more than I like Bobby.
It's so bizarre.
I don't understand
how little they're using these. They've got a family here, brother and sister pair that.
They have an established history with Lauren.
Yeah.
You've got a female perspective in there too, which is interesting.
And they're both great characters. Yeah. I really love Gav and Sabrina.
They're both already popular.
They're just so frustratingly
absent,
infrequent in their appearances.
Maybe she's been murdered.
Maybe it was Gav.
Maybe it was Gav.
Gav did have that thing with Lauren on the sofa one time, didn't he? Do you remember? It was at David's house, and it was somebody's party. I can't remember. Was it Max's party? And then Gav was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to Lauren. She's a racist." And then we didn't get to see them talking at all. But by the end of the episode, Gav was like, "Oh, that Lauren, she's an all right sort."
Maybe he murdered her because she is a racist.
Maybe. Oh, I don't want Gav to be a murderer.
Well, he might be in it more.
No, but
Daniel and Bethany go around to number 8, and Daniel asks Max about Lauren. And he tells them what happened with the forensics. And Bethany wonders that the far righters have got something to do with it. And Max is interested to hear that Lauren has missed a tutoring session with Daniel, which means that something suspicious has happened.
Well, yeah, the whole Daniel being brought into custody on Wednesday, which was kind of... I don't know whether Daniel's still under suspicion at all, but by Friday, it's like, Roy is the one and only. But it led to some great scenes with Daniel in the interview room, but a lot of it hinged around this tutoring session.
Max.
What?
It hinged around Max pointing out.
Yeah. That Lauren was supposedly at a tutoring session on that day when she disappeared, and Daniel saying, "Oh no, she wasn't," and Max is like, "Oh yes, she was."
So this is an interesting limitation of the adversarial justice system that we have in like America and the UK and other countries that have taken their kind of roots from us, whereby you have one person who's accused of crime and two people. One's for and one's against, and they argue to the judge, who then has to ask a bunch of other people to decide what they think. But in other countries, this is not how it happens. Like in France, the judge is more like an investigator who hears the evidence and can kind of order, like, go and find out this, go and find out that, and then at the end they decide what happens. So it's very weird that like in this country, the police have to go, right, who do we actually think did it? We have to decide. They can't just go, right, judge, it could have been Daniel, it could have been...
Yeah.
Could have been Roy, could have been Bobby. He's annoying, isn't he? You just say he did it. Anyway, so Max is talking about this tutoring session because Daniel talks about the date of the last tutoring session and it doesn't match with what she told him. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Daniel just says that the last tutoring session was on X date, and Max was like, no.
Oh.
She said that he would tutoring her on the day that she disappeared. And Daniel's like, no, I didn't. So the thing was, Max remembers that he went up to Lauren's flat that one time, and she was dressed up all skimpy, scantily clad, and she's like, oh, I'm just going to a tutoring session. She clearly wasn't.
Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All becoming clear now.
Sorry, I missed one thing in the whole story, and you're a genius, and then you write the wrong thing in the notes.
Shut up.
Max goes to the police station to tell them about the Ovid stuff, and Swain's like, oh, do you think I am an idiot? I know about this because we saw in her bank statements that she's getting paid for Ovids, and I'm telling you something, Max, I'm thinking of giving up my job and starting my own account.
I haven't looked into this. I have not done my own investigating here, but wasn't there... I don't remember what Ryan's told her, because... she had 2 Ovids accounts, didn't she? She had a pre-18 one and a post-18 one. I can't remember whether Ryan's told her about both or just the post. And when Max came to Swain...
necessarily know.
What? No, Ryan did know about her.
And the new one?
Oh, I don't know. But it was just the fact that...
Maybe Ryan did it.
I should have looked more into this. People probably know that are listening, I don't know. But I got the impression that Max was going to tell her about... the Ovid's account that Swain doesn't know about.
Yes, of course, that's right.
Yeah, and she was like, I know about
Yes.
it, so she still doesn't know about it. And now I'm not...
What do you mean she still doesn't know about it?
She knows about one of the Ovid's
She
accounts.
does know, because she said the bank statement showed that she was getting payments.
But was that from the new Ovid's account
She
or the
knows
old
about
Ovid's
both
account?
of them. I'm sure she knows about both of them. And she says, you need to tell us everything. She knows now anyway, because Max just told her.
But I think that No, what I'm saying is, Max
No,
thought he
what
was
you're
telling
saying.
her about one of them.
I know what you think you're saying, but I'm telling you,
Okay.
she knows about both of them.
Okay, fine.
What do you think, people? We're supposed
Settle
to be
this
telling you.
argument here.
I'm sure she says we know because she got payments from her bank. Where would I have got that from if she didn't say it?
Well, no, but she might have been saying that she got payments for the one that...
Okay, Michael, so she's been doing
one.
it since she turned 18, but she's not been paid.
No, she has been paid.
So then she knows about it because she saw the bank statement.
But does she know about the previous one? Does she know about the pre-18
Ryan told
one?
her about that one.
Did he?
You told me that.
I don't know.
The only one Ryan necessarily knows about is the one that's the pre-18 one because he told us to stop doing it. He reported her.
Oh, I don't know.
How are you getting confused about this?
I'm just trying to
There were
theorise
2
and be
Ovid accounts.
clever.
Listen, there were 2 Ovid accounts. The pre-18 one, Ryan told me about it. I already know. The post-18 one, she's got payments from her bank statement about it. I know about that one too.
Right, okay.
I'm certain that she knows about it. And anyway, so what if she doesn't know about the new one? Who cares?
Well, all these little things, they could turn into something
They
big.
talk about the Ovid's account later on anyway.
Okay. Calm down. Let's both calm down.
She says, you should be telling me everything because otherwise I can't keep track of all these details.
Yes, exactly.
I would be suspicious of Max. Not that there's a reason to be because of this, but why aren't you telling me about it? It's because you follow her.
It's because Bobby wouldn't let him.
I know, but she doesn't know that. That's
No.
also a pathetic excuse. Oh, I didn't tell you because this bloke I just met last month told me not to. All right, sorry. He's such a compelling guy, isn't he, Bobby? He's really charismatic and persuasive. He should start his own cult, shouldn't he? Anyway, she says, I want to talk to you and your friends.
I'm just going to sit here and think what Bobby's cult would be called. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere, but it'll keep me entertained.
So she takes them into a room with a tastefully decorated bowl of pine cones on the table, which I assume was Craig's contribution to the decor.
Yeah, do you think he had to count them, though, to make sure that it was an even number
They
of pine
mentioned
cones?
he had OCD again
They
this
did.
week.
They
That was
called
when
him...
because
That was
she
what the
saying I was
banter
being
was
bullied.
about, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, she said about spring rolls.
Yeah, and he said, people were putting OCID or something like that on his locker.
And that's why he got kicked out.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, sorry, Coronation Street, you cannot bring this up again. You need to sit down and pretend that you never brought it up in the first place because it's embarrassing.
It doesn't happen very much, Corey, but sometimes there are things that we will say, okay, you can forget that ever happened.
Everyone's okay to let that one go. We're all okay to let that go because when we talked about it originally, we had loads of people writing in and saying how debilitating and all encompassing it is. It's not just a funny little I got to count, every pound coin in my pocket little personality quirk. It's really hard to live with.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Craig, through sheer will and force of determination.
It's because he's so thick he forgot.
Not only... That just reminded me as part of the thing on the interview that I did with Vicky, and she's like, tinkerer can be quite inept. So I'm glad that that's canon.
She wasn't in character when she said that. Right, so Swain asks Max about Lauren's secret boyfriend, and then she asks a very good question. How do you know that this guy even exists? And he said, I thought the same thing, because she always get all these texts, and when she got them, her mood really shifted, and she seemed scared of him too. And he kind of like makes it obvious that this person did definitely exist. And Max then doesn't like it when Swain insinuates that she might be a prosy.
Sex worker.
Is that what he actually said? You've written prosy.
No, this was when David
was
David
was saying, yeah.
David says, is it David in the interview room just slouching against the chair? He's like, I've been there so many times before. And he said, she was a prosy. And both Swain and Max turned to and I looked at you because for many years, whenever we mention Leanne's former careers on the podcast, I would always say prostitute, and you'll give me a telling off look.
Well, the thing about it is that it is a legal term.
What?
Prostitute and prostitution is a legal term. And I don't know, sometimes I think it can muddy the waters a bit to not be so specific about what... Like, I understand the reasons that people want to say sex worker, and I totally get it. But I do think that there's a massive difference between doing a video on OnlyFans or Ovids, where you perhaps just show, pictures of yourself in a bikini, and selling sex and having sex with people for money. And calling all of those things under one umbrella, I think clouds the issue sometimes, because when you say Lauren's a sex worker...
What type?
One's more dangerous, infinitely so, than the other, yet somehow they all get put together. I think it's one of those things where perhaps... It's a kind of well-intentioned thing that doesn't always solve all the problems that people want it to. So anyway, he's just really worried about her, and he tells them very persuasively, I thought, and intensely, but also maybe a bit creepily, that they need to speak to Daniel because he reckons it's him. I've been getting weird vibes. They have these intimate-looking private chats. And he also says that she seemed edgy when she was talking about Daniel tutoring her. And this is when he mentioned the time that she was dressed up all fancy to go on a tutoring session, which is what you mentioned, which is when she was actually going on a date, but she used the tutoring session as an excuse. And now Daniel's saying they didn't even have a session. Yeah, I was definitely on my phone at this point, obviously.
Yeah, I see.
Daniel's saying they didn't even have a session.
I don't tell you what you're doing on your phone during Coronation Street for no good reason,
I'm
Gemma.
usually
You're
doing
missing
a tweet,
key plot points.
a hilarious tweet that gets more than 12 likes. So he just says he's got a thing for blondes because of the Bethany, Sinead and Nikki, and we don't hear any more of it. But they obviously then explain who Nikki is.
Yeah.
And Swain's like, it's obviously him. But I'll tell you what, I am easily persuaded. Some might say gullible. I definitely am. I believe what you tell me. Take a lot of things on face value. I could not be a copper because I'd be like, oh yeah, it was definitely him. Then I have an interview with someone else. Oh no, I don't.
No, I am exactly the same. I'm so bad at coming about to my own opinions of things. I'm so easily led. I will literally believe the last thing, the last person that told me about something.
No, I don't think I'm easily led about anything. But if you tell me something about yourself, I'll believe you.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. If you say like I didn't do it, I'll be like, probably maybe you didn't. Craig goes to Daniel's flat.
I think it's just easier to believe the last person that spoke.
Always believe the last thing you heard. That's the saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Craig goes to Daniel's flat to bring him down to the station. So Swain starts the interview. There's no pine cones in this room. This is serious. He says, she says, how much did you charge for tutoring Lauren? And he says, nothing. And then she says, how did she pay you then? In another way, perhaps? And he says, no. who's there? Adam's there with him, that's right. Adam's his lawyer. And then she says, did you transfer any money to her? What was that for? And he says, oh no, it's for exams. This is so good. Corey's done a great job on this, you're right. Because she wanted money, didn't she, to do her GCSEs, because it was like £100 something.
Well, both Daniel and Roy have got a slew of very compelling evidence to somebody who doesn't know them.
Yes.
I refuse to, but I don't think even Corey is thinking that we're supposed to believe either of them have done anything.
Yeah, I just want to say...
Daniel is mega creepy. You know, we've seen what he's been like, and he can get very intense with women. He's pushed them up against the door. He can have funny turns. And that's a nice way of putting it. But has he done anything to Lauren? No, absolutely not. But the evidence, if I was Swain, is looking mighty suspicious.
I just want everyone to understand that Coronation Street does not expect you, like you just said, to seriously think that Daniel or Roy did this. And I also want people to understand that to Swain, these people are mega suspicious, and in real life, you would think that one or both of them did it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the problem is, if it does turn out that it's someone that's been right under our nose all this time, then that's great, I suppose. But if they say that the clues have been there, but we've just been going, woo, 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 look over here, when there's clues have been staring us in the face. If it turns out that it's Joel. Nathan, who seems to be the hot favourite at the moment, then there haven't been clues, have there? Apart from maybe the necklace and maybe then it'd be in some way a little bit more disappointing, because how on earth were we supposed to have spotted it? But then if you put too many clues, then you run the risk of people saying, well, obviously it's so and so. I wish they'd hurry up and reveal, because it clearly is. So they're just about playing it right, because it is. I'm on the edge of my seat and thinking, how are they going to get out of this one, when I know that they will get out of it, because I know they're innocent and hope justice will prevail. Yes.
That's why I think it's Joel, by the way.
Is that who your money's on?
Because of the link. Joel, first time we met him was in the police station. So because he's a on-duty solicitor there, isn't he? So he must have known Neil, who was a police officer, who was in the grooming gang, because he always hangs around. That's the link there. And that's why he's part of that grooming gang, because Nathan recruited people in positions of power that he could use to help him get out of sticky situations. And having a lawyer and a policeman, do you see how that links in?
I don't know. Is Joel old enough to have been working there at that time? I mean, he's relatively young, isn't he? And this story was 5 odd years ago.
Fresh-faced young lawyer trying to make his way in the world.
Easily led.
Like us. Like me, yeah. Right, so, where are we at? Oh dear. So, the payment for the exams looks bad, because she didn't even take them. Then she reminds him of the fact that it's Summer.
Yeah, she mentioned Summer as well.
What happened with Summer?
I don't know.
Did he tutor her? Or did he shag her? No, he can't have done. I don't remember why she brought that up, but she's blonde. Nikki, who's also another sex worker. And Daniel's like, oh, I need a solicitor. And that's when Adam turns up.
He's just realising, man, I'm a massive creep.
Oh, my personal history.
If you say it like that.
I also can't, but did it even come up that he pushed Max down the stairs? Or did Max think that maybe that seemed like he had a vendetta?
I don't know I don't think that was brought up, but...
That adds to it, doesn't it? So Adam's turned up and he just glowers the whole way through, because he was in the middle of doing his hair. Daniel tells her about Cardigate.
I've written Cardigate.
He doesn't.
This is my coin.
He says, I never paid her for sex. Maybe I paid her to put perfume on. I'm not going to say I got to wear my dead wife's cardigan.
That was such a fun scene to watch. Me and you were both saying,
squirming.
come on, tell
her about the cardigan.
Say about the cardigan. Because she was saying, what was the nature of your relationship? What did you do when you met up? We were like, and Daniel, you could see that he was so squirming. He wanted the ground to open up and swallow him. Like, and he managed to deftly avoid making himself sound like a massive weirdo.
It's because wearing someone else's perfume, it feels a bit more acceptable, because we all know that scent unlocks like primal memories in your mind. But nobody waxes lyrical about dead women's cardigans today. It's not like, no, before you take her body, leave the cardigan for me.
I mean, we did have Hayley's coat, which is only
Cardigan's just an inherently funny item of clothing, isn't it?
Yeah. It is really.
Right, so he's just embarrassed, and then she goes talking about Lauren again. And how did he feel when Lauren found out that Daisy was cheating on him? And he said, I didn't even know that she knew that until after she disappeared. And I wasn't tutoring on the day that Max says that I was. Ask Maria. I was talking to her about it, or maybe it was Bethany. Maybe that's what I was talking about then earlier.
Maybe.
And I was talking to them about it, and they know that I wasn't tutoring her. Okay. So Daniel goes off with Daisy to talk to Daisy later, telling her about Swain wanting to pin it on him. And she says, no, I've got your back, don't worry. But I've got to go out.
He thought he was starting to make headway with Daisy there,
No.
didn't he? He thought he was put on the old sob story up and dragged down the station.
Daniel's like desperately need to get in with a brunette here because I've got a worrying pattern of behaviour that might make me look suspicious. She's like, sorry, Buster, I'm going out with someone else.
Maybe if he does end up dating another blonde again, he'll just whip out Jenny's wig and say, can you just put this on?
Then we have a montage of characters listening onto the radio, which is quite an interesting idea.
Yeah. It's almost like it was a Christmas Day episode, wasn't it?
Peter's singing. It was Christmas Eve. Daniel's got his head in his hands because now they're saying that she's suspected to have been killed. And he knows that it's him what might have done it. On Friday, Ken is trying to calm Daniel down. It's like, who hasn't been accused of murder on this show? Everyone. He's getting het up about everything. And then we have Team Bobby in the cafe. And Bobby's still very suspicious of Daniel. But Nina and Carla are like, look, he's a main character as well. It's going to be somebody who's got a shorter contract. Who do we know who's got a short contract, Bobby? Who do we know that's just started recently and has a year in the show, Bobby? Do you know anyone like that?
Who has it been said that they're going to be at the centre of a big storyline, Bobby?
Nina then sees some mean comments about Roy online because
this is after it was on the Appeal website on the Gazette.
Well, because the Gazette has used the video that
Suki
took, which was Bobby asking for information, and then Suki turned the camera to Roy, who then just made himself look incredibly strange and suspicious. And they reference necrophilia.
Yeah, there's some pretty vile comments there.
Yes,
but not unrealistic.
Oh,
I think if you didn't know Roy and you were of that ilk, he's very easy to.
I don't think you have to be of any kind of ilk to think that Roy is an odd duck.
But you don't, just because someone's an odd duck, it doesn't mean you write horrible things about them, but he's a fairly easy target.
But, I think that sometimes true crime shows and, all, documentaries and things make us think that, the handsome man next door who wouldn't hurt a fly, is charismatic and handsome, is always the killer. But no, normally it is a weirdo who you definitely would have suspected did it.
Well, Roy said that he's not traditionally, as you said, I'm not conventionally good looking, he said today.
I'm not saying all weird people are murderers, but I'm saying lots of murderers are weird people. Daniel has a go at Max for putting him in the frame. This is great. They're in the middle of the street and he's like, "Oi, Max, I thought you were all right again." And Max just loves this. He thinks it's great. And he says, if it walks like a perv and talks like a perv. And then Ken comes and's like, "Daniel,
he strides up
stop."
behind him, doesn't he?
And Daniel says, "Max wants to destroy me." And Max just thinks this is great. And Ken kind of pulls Daniel away to leave Max alone. So Max goes to the cafe and tells Roy that they should do another appeal, and he says yes, she definitely deserves that. And Debbie comes in and she puts her foot in it by mentioning that the online contingent, which is whoever is being mean. What is that?
That was just the Mac unplugging and then plugging back in for some reason.
Ghost.
I don't know.
The ghost of Lauren.
Yes.
We could do a seance. Oh.
And if we don't hear anything, then she's alive.
Oh, yeah. Could be. Or maybe she's astral projecting. Right, so she mentions the online contingent, and this is when it comes out that Carla's been hiding the fact that people are writing mean comments about him on the internet. And I can just tell you don't need to know what people say about you on the internet, because it's never anything nice.
We have nice people saying lovely things about us, don't we?
Yeah, but that's
Mostly.
normally to us, though. I don't want to know what people say about me when
my back's turned.
It's normally something horrible. Carla and Nina sit down with a cup of tea and tell him, don't do the appeal, it's going to make things worse. And he says, yeah, okay, I don't want the focus being taken off of Lauren.
Yeah, he knows that because of all these comments, it's just going to attract more.
So then Suki comes around because they'd already arranged to have this done. But as she's talking to them, Swain turns up to arrest Roy. And Suki's like, oh my God, Scoop. But the video that gets circulated is not her video, is it? Somebody else's.
Yeah, when he was getting arrested, you saw these teenage boys kind of walking with their backs to the car, filming away. So.
Filming him in the car, and Carla's going, don't arrest him. And then they take him to the interview room, and he's got Dee Dee as his lawyer. So handy that we've got 2 lawyers. I love this. Shame it's not Imran. Could have had Imran there as well if somebody else got arrested. But
I thought this was a great scene. This is just Roy answering the
questions. Roy,
questions.
the most Roy way possible.
Yeah.
Roy being Roy and making himself look like a murderer.
Yeah.
So
he tells the truth. And unfortunately for him, the truth makes him look mightily suspicious because it already the evidence in Swain's mind is, this shows that you quite likely did it, and all he does is confirm her suspicions by not trying to get out of it, or he doesn't say, oh yeah, but... Or he
Roy
just
is very much the facts speak for themselves and it wasn't me. I'm not going to try and persuade you because I feel like the facts are compelling enough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not. So he's told that the evidence points to Lauren suffering a blunt head trauma. And then he gets asked about what he put out for the bins. And he says general rubbish, which is unfortunate for him because it also turns out that there was a big chair they threw away that she was hit on the head with. Who picks up a chair and throws it at somebody?
Well, Bobby. Nathan.
Anyone except Roy. And he wore gloves. And he also is the source of the money that was under the bed.
Do you think we're going to get a flashback? I kind of hope we will. And that's bad because, I don't like that sort of storytelling in Coronation Street very much. But I think after all of the clues that we're being drip fed and we're trying to piece this together, what actually happened, who, when she opened the door to whoever that was, if we only hear about it but don't see it, I'll feel a little bit let down because it's already been established that now Corrie sometimes do flashbacks.
Do you know what I would have loved, and I know this is cheesy, and this is the sort of thing we complain about if it actually happened, I'd have loved Swain to have described the crime that she thinks was committed by Daniel and Roy to them in the interview room and have Lauren and Daniel act it out. And Lauren and Roy, like in like she's saying, and then you picked up and then there was,
Oh yeah,
so she's like,
I get
and
it.
I put it to you that you went to her thing, and then it cuts to Daniel.
That is such a McLeod thing to do, Gemma.
Free idea. And he opens the door, and there's Daniel there, and he's like going rah 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 rah, and then she's like, oh my goodness me, and then she touches her necklace.
Yeah, that'd be a proper what's it called? Unreliable narrator.
I love those. I really love those so much. Anyway, so the money was under the bed. It was from Roy, and he rounded it up by £27. And she says, why? And he says, because it made 100.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just felt sorry for her as well.
And he asks her, are you certain Lauren's dead? But she doesn't answer, and instead asks him if there's anything else that he wants to tell her about the last time he saw Lauren. And she says, no, I've told you everything. So she grills him about how close he was to Lauren, and did he follow her online, and did he know about her sex work? And he's like, I don't even know what Ovid's is.
You'll do that. I abhor social media. Yeah, he didn't realise
I didn't know you could look at naked girls on the internet, Your Honour.
you opened up a whole new world. Why did I drop that smartphone? I just thought it was for online chess. Evelyn lied to me.
Although I wondered why so many were called Chess Master 69. That did come up. So he's like, it doesn't.
Yeah, the only online porn Roy knows about is the chess pieces.
Yeah, did you know about Lauren's online porn? I didn't know she played chess. Anyway.
Oh, there's a missed opportunity there.
Oh, rewind it. Okay, cut it bit out. put that on Twitter. Okay, so he didn't know about this. He says it doesn't surprise me because she did offer herself to me on one occasion. And Dee Dee's writing furiously like, shut up, Roy, please, maybe. This is what I mean when I said about the sex work thing, because all Swain knows is that she had an Ovid's account, which is one end of the spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's talking about the other end of the spectrum. And I do think that if you're not necessarily up on your lingo or accepted terminology, you would think immediately of the crime of prostitution. If somebody says sex work, you wouldn't necessarily think cheesecake photos online.
Putting your bits.
So, foot photos.
Yeah. There's a whole range.
There's a whole lots of different things you can do. Is that what I was doing? I was selling those. Remember, I sold my shoes on eBay, and I was selling. I was like, this, these are designer shoes, but they're quite old. So I put, worn shoes, and I got all these people buying it. And they were like, can I see a picture? Can I see a picture of your feet in them? I was like, yeah, here you go. Why not? And then I was like, do they smell? I was like, well, no, they don't. What do you mean? It's like, could you make them smell? I'm like, hang on, something's happening here that I don't understand.
I think
was that sex?
It could have been,
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that these days you would not fall for that.
You can't do it anymore.
So
because once I realised, I was like, this is gonna make me a mint. But then they stopped. You couldn't do it anymore. Sad times. Anyway, does anyone want to buy any shoes? I think I've already tried to sell my shoes on air before, haven't I? So
I can't. You can't have my shoes because I've only got about 2 pairs. I only ever have 2 pairs of shoes. I've got my school shoes. I've got my trainers.
You've got a pair of boots.
I've got a pair of allotment boots as well, haven't I?
Boots and a pair of
But nobody needs more than 3 pairs of shoes. It's just greedy. This opulence.
Yeah, opulence. So they talk then about the phone records, and there's a number of phone calls between Roy and Lauren, and Swain asks him whether it was, what was that about?
Is it sexy talk?
Did you misinterpret her offering sex to you? And he's like, no, definitely didn't. But what she didn't realise was that I just like the pleasure of her company. And Swain says, is that why you cleaned her flat so much? Because of how much you liked her? And he says, no, I did it because Evelyn needed me to. And then this is when they bring up the chair that he threw out, and it had blood and tissue on it, they tell him, that belonged to Lauren, enough for them to suspect that it was what was used to hit her.
Yeah, he says that he threw it out because it had a broken leg, I think, didn't he? So that was clearly broken in the fracas that happened between Lauren and insert name here.
And then she shows him this picture, and they're like, she says, what is this? And he says, it's a condom. Actually, it's a condom wrapper.
I can't believe we've had Roy say condom.
I know.
They should have given us that warning before the episode started.
They should have. Every episode of Coronation Street should begin with, just a disclaimer here: if you have a podcast that you want to monetize, just realise this will force you to discussing things that you will not be able to use advertising for, because you can't sex work, condoms, none of these things. Now we're going to be demonetized. Thanks very much, Coronation Street. Anyway, so
it's fun though, isn't it?
Yeah,
fun to talk about it.
Fun to talk about it. She says your fingerprints are on this. And he says, no, they weren't. They can't have been because I was wearing gloves. Hang on a minute. No, I wasn't. At this particular point, I thought I'd finished, and then I found it and put it in the bin.
Yeah, she's accusing him of bonking her, like, not on that evening, but before.
Well, she said this was weeks old.
Yeah.
Did you use this before Lauren disappeared? Before you tried to remove all traces of your presence from her flat? And he's like, no, promise. The interview ends, and Dee Dee makes it clear that this is all circumstantial. There's nothing tying him directly to Lauren's disappearance. And Swain says, all right, I will release you on bail, but you're going to have a curfew and you have to report to the police station weekly.
Dee Dee was great in this one. I didn't write much down because she was mostly just doing general lawyerly things, but she was kind of quite riled up, wasn't she? And she wasn't... So she was getting a bit told off by Swain a few times for overstepping the boundaries of what a lawyer was allowed to say. Well, because she said
he doesn't even know what Ovid's is.
Yeah. Leading her client. So he needs leading a bit, doesn't he?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. So he's like, I can't believe they can do this. How's he going to watch bats From the
Well,
hours
this
of
is the
7 to
thing.
7.
I know. I mean, people say, well, Roy doesn't. He can be confined to his flat. That's fine. But no, he's got a very active social life in the back watching community.
Yeah. You could
Good,
definitely...
it's a good job that... What was his name? Marvin, his bloke that died last year. It's probably a good job because at least he won't be lonely now.
Can't walk the dog at night.
He can't, no.
Where's that gone?
Freddie.
Did he kill the dog as well? So anyway, back at the cafe later, he's determined. He said he's determined to act like a normal, innocent person.
Oh, he makes a joke, doesn't he? What did he say? He said, "Oh, it's going to put a dampener on my
social life."
No. He said cabaret career, and Carl's like, "Oh, you made a joke."
He's like, "I was just trying it out."
He said, "Oh, I just want to act like a normal, innocent man."
He said, "I thought it would land better than that."
Just normal men.
We're just
normal men, innocent men. And he's like, he's trying to put a positive spin on it.
And again, eat his tomato soup.
He seems to think that, everything's going to turn out right. He's given the facts. Clearly to him, this is the truth.
I'm sure there's
no way anything's going to go wrong because he said what he knows is the truth. So everything's going to be fine.
Happened before. I can't remember when it did.
And Carla thinks
you're in trouble.
Yeah, you kind of kidding yourself a bit there, Roy. And Dee Dee says that at the end of the episode, I've seen people go down for less than Roy. So,
yeah, and he also sees the video of his arrest that's been put online.
Oh yeah, because there was also that scene with Yasmin. Like a few scenes before, she sees it. I don't really. I suppose
It's just to show that everyone's seen it.
Yeah, but it wasn't everyone, was it? It was Yasmin.
Well, no, you kind of extrapolate from there, don't you?
I suppose the fact that they ended Wednesday's episode with everybody round the wireless listening to the news report about what's been going on at the station, it would have felt a bit of a repeat if they'd have everybody seeing this video. But Yasmin, I guess, she's been... I hope that they draw Yasmin into this story because she was such a big part of some of Roy's stories last year, wasn't she? With finding Hayley's coat and Evelyn getting jealous of her. And it's just kind of, in a way, it's making me reevaluate everything that happened relating to Roy in the last year. Like, is everything that happened here, could it be either a clue or could it be a lifeline for him? I don't know.
I love this. This is great.
I hope that...
Good job, Corey.
I want Yasmin to get in just because I need her to get away from the Stu storyline, quite frankly. But I'd want Yasmin on my side if I was being accused of murder.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Now, Michael...
Also, we've not had really much of Evelyn. Did we have any Evelyn in this story this week? I can't remember. I hope that now this arrest has happened, we are going to have everybody rallying round him. But I don't know. Do you think it's going to be the case of that, or are some of the residents of Coronation Street going to turn against him? Is it going to be a bit? Are you on Roy's side or not? What do you think?
I find that a bit tiresome. The idea of that, because I do think that most people would not really think that he was capable of it. But then he has got up to some weird things. He beat Gary with a baseball bat. And he set fire to a boat when he was asleep.
That you always bring out that piece of evidence. That does not mean that he's whacked Lauren round the head with a chair.
Excuse me, it means that he's capable of violence and he does things when he's asleep. He's a fictional character. I'm not trying to link anybody who has sleep disorders with being a murderer, but he's a fictional character, and it's possible that he sleepwalked to her flat and killed her. Because it's not real, is it?
Don't go down that route.
It's not real. But he's got form. Everybody knows he's done this. It's a matter of record that he did that. What's the difference between setting fire to a boat and killing somebody? If you're dreaming.
I suppose it would make sense if everybody immediately is aghast at the idea of Roy being arrested, but then some people start to think, maybe. I mean, you got easy characters like Beth, I imagine, would be very quick to turn on him. And,
I always knew he was weird. Yeah,
that sort of thing. And Sally might spread the gossip. Just to get, just for a bit of excitement, but not realising that she's causing a bit of harm.
It's Occam's razor, is it not, to think that Roy did it?
What does that mean?
It's the simplest explanation. Oh. It's like, if you think, look, what's the most logical course of, like, a guy who got rid of the evidence, who gave her money, who has a history of violence and And now she's dead.
But what about Daniel? Is he no longer a suspect?
Oh my God, can you stop kicking
No,
that?
sorry. Is Daniel no longer a suspect? Was that just kind of a treading water episode on Wednesday? I mean, it got a great performance out of Vicky, out of Rob,
I don't know, but I loved
Sam.
it.
But is it going to be a case of half of the street will think it's Daniel, half of the street will think it's Rob, when really the main Rob Mallard. No, Rob, Daniel and Roy. Are they going to have to pick a side there? I don't know. When really the real perpetrator is
Joel.
laughing away. But yeah, overall, it's clearly not either of them. But I understand that lots of people think that Daniel is mega creepy. I just don't think that they would throw a character as important as Daniel under the bus like that by making him a murderer.
No,
unless Rob Mallard wants to leave.
I'd love that though. Wouldn't it be great? The thing is, I don't think there's neither of these characters really have a proper motive.
That's the main thing, isn't it? What reason would they have to do it?
The only motive that you could make is the same kind of thing that happened with Tina, where you had a load of suspects and we got to see the murder videos where all of them killed her, because Coronation Street released them in advance. But none of those characters, as I recall, went there to kill her. They all just had an altercation that ended up with her dead.
I can't remember.
So I think that would be how they do this, where or they'll say, you went to go to see Lauren and you were telling her that she owed you the money back for the tutoring and she hasn't done her exams and she's not taking it seriously and she mocked you and you didn't like it because you like poems and she said you were a limp-wristed poet and so you pushed her and hit her with a chair.
Yeah.
Or Lauren said that she didn't think the conservation of bats was an important environmental issue considering the state of the planet. And you disagreed with her because you think it's one small symptom that we should care about, because if we care about the small things, we care about the big things. And then you hit it with a chair.
Roy, it was obviously not Roy. Daniel,
It's obviously not Daniel.
I know, but if it turned out that it was,
that would be
I
great.
would be like, okay, I'll buy that. I was surprised.
I actually wouldn't mind if it was Roy.
Actually, he would be in his personality to do that, possibly.
Both of them are violent.
No, it's not him.
Someone with a bat?
We've seen enough of Roy reacting privately to know that it wasn't him. But Daniel, it feels like we've not seen as much of that. If he went off and did a little furtive look, that'd make me believe it even more. But no, I think that Daniel, 95% innocent, Roy 100%.
Well,
willing to be proven wrong on Daniel. Now,
we got to see a bit of Swain's paper, didn't we? That she had during the interview with all the bits of information.
Yeah, I don't know whether we got anything that interesting.
I don't think that whoever wrote this really... I don't think somebody on the writing team wrote this, or if they did, I don't know what you were doing, because a lot of this stuff is wrong.
Is it? Like what?
Swain wouldn't have... This doesn't make sense, because it says that her family reported her missing. That's not true. It also refers to the precinct as the park.
And it's just talking about the park at the precinct.
That's a play area. Well, you would never call that a park. You would never call that a park.
Maybe it's a northern thing.
The last recorded activity on her phone, though, is interesting, because that's 8:15. Now, what does that mean? Phone records were obtained, the last recorded activity. Now, that can't be a phone call or a text, because they would know who it was.
What does it also say?
The last recorded activity was at 8:15, consistent with the family's timeline.
Yeah, so I think it just means that...
Yes, she was on her phone. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, well, I don't know.
I'm getting at, it was activity. It wasn't a text. Because they would say, the last text she got was so-and-so said this at this time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. Sorry that I'm exasperated at me. Are you the Swain and I'm tinkering?
Pretending to be stupid.
Anyway, that was all great stuff. The fact that I can be so gripped and engaged by two characters being interviewed that I clearly don't think did it, and also I'm thinking, well, this is a waste of time. It has been done so many times before, hasn't it? The wrongful arrest on Coronation Street. I mean, Deirdre is the big one that kicked it all off.
Yeah.
And people are never going to get through the Weatherfield one about Roy. Is he going to go to prison? maybe. It's a possibility. I'm thinking more likely it's going to be a case of he ends up in court, and on the day that he's at court, the real perpetrator...
Lauren turns up.
Yeah, Lauren turns up, or the person who's actually responsible. But he could go to prison, but it's not going to have the same reaction as Deirdre, because we're used to beloved characters getting sent down. We've had it with Gail, we've had it with Sally, you know, it's a well-trodden street at this point. So, yes, it's very cliche in a way, but they must be doing something right, because I'm not watching it going, yeah, whatever. I'm going, oh, what is happening next? And that's what I want to think about, Corrie.
It's not the same, though, because we don't even know what happened. When Deirdre went on trial, when Sally went on trial, we knew they didn't do it, and we knew who did.
Yeah, that's true. And I think
we don't even know what actually happened. We don't even know whether Lauren's dead.
Yeah, and I think, I can't remember whether I said it on the podcast last week, but I was definitely thinking it. I kind of saw it as a flaw before, and I thought, we haven't got a villain, we haven't got anyone to hate here, we haven't got anyone to boo. But I think it is a strength of it, actually, having a bit of mystery.
No, I like this. I don't think we've ever had a story where we don't know what's happened to somebody.
I don't remember whether we have, but
not intentionally. There's lots of people who are like, where did they go? Like when what's her face? Mike's wife,
Alma,
the one who disappeared in a
Linda's
like, I was like, did he kill Linda?
Yeah, no, that was a good one. She went off missing. So I can't remember.
Yeah, I know, but it's not the same thing, is it? This is, you're supposed that happened because the actress walked off.
Yeah, she had to have a baby. Anyway,
well, no, but she also didn't come to work.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. I just think that the pacing of the story since the beginning has just been a little bit off, and that's why for a long time we were quite down on it. And because it was it October, September? I don't remember when Lauren's mystery man, the idea of him first reared its head, and we're like, oh god, I don't really care who this is, and I didn't care for a long time. And I think if they tightened it up a little bit and made it happen over a bit of a shorter time period, it would have kept me interested for the duration.
Don't know. I just really like the way they've been bubbling this under our noses. I think that's great. Good job, Corrie. I bet some of them have been listening to us prattling on about things, going, you guys don't even know about it.
That probably happens regularly.
I know, but sometimes...
If anyone ever listens to us, they're like, Michael and Gemma, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
No.
Little do you know.
Yeah, but there's a difference between going, you guys don't know what you're talking about, which is true, to you guys will be so excited when you find out what is actually happening. You
have fallen right for our trick and our misdirection,
yeah.
You idiots.
well, take your bow, because this has been really good fun. I've enjoyed it. I know that there's lots of criticism saying, obviously, Roy's not going to get in trouble for this. We know he didn't do it. And I've seen people complaining that Lauren is an unlikable character, not very popular, so who cares what happened to her. I don't really think that that's affecting my enjoyment, to be honest.
No, because in a way, I'm thinking, if she is dead, great, that makes the story more exciting. Yeah.
I mean, I hope for the actress's sake that the character isn't dead, but from my perspective, I think it would be a weaker storyline if she isn't.
Anyway,
sorry.
I think we better move on to our next story. We've got the Leanne Institute story. Although really the Institute stuff really only shows up today, doesn't it? It's more about Simon at the beginning of the week and his going to court, and then we
care about this.
No, I mean, it's one of these things that had to happen, wasn't it?
I know, but I don't care if Simon can drive or not, because I never see any of them driving apart from if they're going to have a car crash.
This wasn't so much about Simon, though, was it? It was about the fallout that happened between Leanne and Nick, because Nick still didn't want to go to court. Did he not want to go? Oh, he's still...
No, he's mad.
He's still mad at
Simon
Sam because of Sam being caught up in the crash. Yeah, exactly. And then Sam gets involved in the case because Dee Dee suggests that Sam write Simon a character witness for Simon. Yeah, a reference, sorry, that's it. And Leanne puts this idea to Sam and he's like, yeah, okay, as long as I can write what I want. And Leanne thinks, this is great. Sam's an excellent writer. I'm sure that he will do a sterling job at making Simon sound like a jolly good citizen. And Nick's like, Nick's again, he just like squints and is exasperated and just looks permanently confused about everything that's going on.
Well, Leanne gets a nose put out during, doesn't she? Because Nick's still squinting by the end of the day, and she's like, "Don't come to the court then."
Yeah. So he doesn't at first. It's the classic, having a fallout. I'm not going to turn up to this important event. But then somebody convinces me to change my mind. And I think it's Toya, isn't it, on Wednesday, who helps remind Nick that he is Simon's only male role model at the moment, now that Peter's bogged off to Bilbao.
No, he's got Andrew Tate.
Oh yes, of course. and Nick does turn up at court, and the judge tells Simon, "Well, you've had some good character witnesses,
and here's your stepdad.
Yeah, exactly.
You must be a good man.
6-month driving ban and padam, community service.
80 hours.
Yeah, I wonder what he's going to be doing. Scrubbing up the precinct.
My cousin did community service, and she had to sort through the charity shop stuff, donations.
Corey's got a charity shop.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where Simon will end up. Well, he's gonna, he's had a change of heart about his outlook on life, basically, by the end of the week, because he's heard of this self-help group called the Institute.
It's not called that. It's called...
Well, that's what it's been called in all this publicity, but...
I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Rowan's badge has got another name on, hasn't it? What's it called?
So ridiculous.
It's got the Institute in it.
Yeah, it does. My phone's decided to just...
It doesn't want to show you the picture anymore.
Ultraviolent. How would you say that?
Ultraviolent, yeah.
Ultraviolent
The Ultraviolent Institute. So we're led to believe that it's a self-help group that's been online, and Simon's been watching their videos and kind of getting lifestyle tips about how to look on the bright side of life, or whatever you get up to with these
things.
Here's
mine. When you've got flowers to put in a vase, clean the vase out with bleach and rinse it thoroughly to ensure no bacteria remain that will make your roses or other flowers wilt sooner than they would have done.
Thank you, Charlie Dimmock.
This was another presentation from the Ultraviolent Institute.
Anyway, what are the chances of this? But they're actually coming to Weatherfield to do a talk on Friday. And where can you do a talk? Chariot Square Hotel. Oh, yes.
And they're going to be on the Isle of Wight on Friday.
So Friday's episode was them going off there. Leanne drops Simon off at the hotel, doesn't she?
She goes back and forth to this hotel about 5 times in one episode.
Yeah, and Debbie's there saying, they've got a wedding fair on. They're always doing bloody wedding fairs at Chariot Square, aren't they? And Leanne, because she's still...
she doesn't realise that Nick doesn't want to marry her.
Yeah, Nick's been having chats with David about not wanting to marry her and having doubts about how, whether they should be getting wed so soon. And Leanne's kind of blissfully ignorant around all this. So she goes back to the bistro and says, Nick, let's go to a wedding fair. And Nick has to be seriously cajoled into going with this. But they go anyway, and we don't see any of the wedding fair.
Don't bother getting the sugared almonds.
They're in the bar, and Debbie's very keen that Leanne and Nick sign up. And when was it? August? She was trying to get him...
Third week of August.
Yeah. And Nick's like, I just want to hold up and look at other places. Clearly, he's just stalling because he doesn't want to put his name down for this wedding because he doesn't want to get married at all at this point. Leanne is fuming. She's just like, I want to get it out of the way.
But it is a bit dumb. I mean, well, no, you can say it either way, can't you? Leanne knows it's here or the bistro. She knows they're not going to pay out more budget for Nick and Leanne to get married to someone fancy. She's like, it's got to be here or the bistro. But Nick's saying, no, we should go to more places and get more
quotes.
More quotes. It's true. We had to go to loads of places.
Anyway, Leanne says, look, I'm fed up with your attitude.
Yeah.
Bug off home.
Bog off.
So Debbie's gone later, and then Nick apologises. Oh no, yeah, he stays for a bit, doesn't he? He's apologising, and Leanne's like, no, I don't want to hear it. And then they get into a spat that riles him up so much that she was like, well, do you want to marry me even? And he's like, oh, no, I don't yet. So they're like, what the heck?
He's holding out for someone else.
Yeah, unfortunately they can't get too much into an argument about it, because this is when Simon comes out of his institute talk, thrilled with how it went, and Leanne's left alone, kind of brooding in the bar later. And this is when she gets talking to Rowan, new character, head of the institute, or is he the head? I don't know.
We said he's the head, but we don't know.
Oh,
no,
okay.
we said.
Yeah, He's
He's
just
a man.
He's the seminar man.
Yeah.
And he starts talking over to Leanne, and he's giving her this
Hang
advice.
on. Debbie brings over a bunch of cups of drinks because she thought that she and Nick and Leanne were having a conversation about booking this wedding venue.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
she gets there, Nick's bogged off, so Leanne gives the cup to Rowan.
Oh yeah. That's
And this is how they get introduced, because Rowan's like, she looks like a soft touch.
He starts giving this. I can't remember what he says, but it's basically along the lines of, if there's these people are stressing you out, just let it wash over you. And she is not in the mood for pep talks, thank you very much. But then when she realises who he is, this guy that Simon has been saying as the bee's knees, she gets a little bit embarrassed, and they start to get talking. And by the time the next scene comes around, Leanne and Debbie are there at the table, and they're totally in adoration of this guy. He's got this rapt audience. I mean, clearly this institute is something very dodgy, and he is. He's got the skill of getting people to hang on his every word. Much like us, Gemma. I mean, we could be playing the long game, and conversation is actually a cult.
Yeah, that's right. We're not making enough money for it to be a cult.
Very true. So he says, and I just love the dialogue that he's been given, because I was like, right, we've had a cult story in Coronation Street before. Leanne is a very, very interesting choice of character to get involved in this, because she's one of the only characters that's still on the show now that was about when Zoe was having her cultish story back in the late 90s.
Just explain it just very briefly for people that don't know.
So the cult of Nirab. This is a story that went on, I can't remember, 98, 99 in Coronation Street, where it was called the Cult of Nirab, but the organisation was called the Etheric Foundation, which is a great name. And the story revolves around Zoe Tattersall, played by Jo Froggatt, who was better known later for playing, what was the character in Downton? She was a maid or something, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, I can't remember. She was something.
Anyway, she was a bit down in the dumps because her child Shannon had died of meningitis, had her baby, and then she finds solace in the Etheric Foundation, which is led by the cult leader there was played by Bern Gorman, wasn't he? So this is a great cast we had around
Anna
here.
Was her name in Downton Abbey.
Oh, thank you. And basically she just gets lured in by this and the promise that I can't remember what it was. One day she'll go onto the higher plane and Shannon will still be there, and she was in a perfect situation to have her mind molded by this bunch of predators, basically. And Ashley Peacock was kind of, I think he was he going out with Zoe at the time, maybe, and he was like, Zoe, you can't do this, you got to choose me or them, and she ended up choosing them. And there was this great scene where Ashley goes along to one of their meetings and they're all swaying around a table, and there's a portrait of Brian Park, who's, like I said, the producer that this was named after.
Nirab is Brian backwards.
Well, yeah, it's mixed up in it, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anagrammed. And basically the story ends with her going away to America to be in the cult. So that was that story.
Very serious.
This was a story. And this was only a few years ago into the new modern Corrie, wasn't it? And people at the time thought, what the hell? This isn't Coronation Street. People thought it was weird at the time. They were like, Corrie's jumped the shark. This is
supposed to be funny.
I think it kind of was.
It must have been, because it's tongue in cheek. If it was Nirab and the picture of Brian Park and everything.
It was tongue in cheek, but it was also raising awareness of cults, and you got to raise awareness of everything. It was an early issue storyline. No, I seriously think it was, and it didn't go down well. But on the rewatch, I thought it was fantastic. It was total cheese, and when I heard that they were gonna go down this route, and I don't know anything other than Leanne gets involved with this culty organisation. I suppose,
you're kind of giving out spoilers a bit here, because this has not been...
It's not been established on the show that it's a cult, but the way that he was talking, the dialogue that they gave this Rowan, it was brilliant. But because I was thinking, how are they going to make this different? And from the way he was talking, like, okay, so all of their dialogue and their programming speech. It's literally about programming, isn't it?
Specific jargon is like a real cult thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So he talks to her and is like, oh, you sounds like you're stuck in a constant download. What are you living your life for? Filtering, processing other people's codes. When are you going to write one of your own? What happens to your passions, your pain, if you can't program them for upload? If you can't touch the world as being touched by it, you're buffering, gearing up to the living authentically, but never getting started. It was just, it was a load of compu jargon that was utterly nuts. And I'm sure that there were people at home sort of rolling their eyes and shaking their heads, and you are perfectly entitled to do this because this is not going to be for everybody. But I was just sitting there thinking, this is awesome. And I don't know whether it's going to live up to the insaneness that the Cult of Nirab story does, but I am all there for it. And I think that Leanne, in a way, if they go through this story and Nirab doesn't get brought up, bloody hell, they've missed a trick.
They won't call it Nirab though, because
the
it's
Etheric
just such an
Foundation.
obviously fake name.
But I don't know whether they will, because they don't often like to reference things that long ago that aren't like traditionally classic stories. It feels like there's a group of stories that it's okay to reference because everybody agreed that these are classic stories.
Yeah, but she was just only a rat. How much was she involved in
She was involved in it because she and Nick were living with Ashley and Zoe.
Oh.
Remember, Leanne was babysitting baby Shannon when she died.
She killed her.
She didn't kill her.
She did
Meningitis in it. And so she was very much involved in that story. So the fact that she may well be taken in by this cult, and really I am just going at the moment by the fact that she was batting her eyelids and smiling and all that for Rowan today.
He hooked her in.
I know. And
she gave away too much information on the first meeting though, because she alludes to all these terrible things that have happened to her, and he's like, brilliant.
I know.
I can't believe Debbie was sitting there going, great, sounds brilliant. I mean, to be honest, though...
I'd love to know what Debbie really thought of it. It felt like she was being taken along with it as well, but Debbie seems like the sort that would just nod along with it and go, that was.
I think that she hopefully was being polite because she's renting this room out to the institute, so she's not going to sit there and go, that's crap, isn't it?
But if there's one thing that could make this story even better, it's if Debbie has a big part in it. If this is a Debbie storyline, Debbie joins a cult.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. Story of the year. Sorry, Paul, you've been dethroned here. But yeah, the fact that Leanne saw Zoe going into a cult and could well be walking blindly into it, you might say, well, surely not, which is why I hope it gets referenced by Nick or somebody. But, she's lost Ollie. And she's in a really tough place. That was her lowest point, and I don't think she is as vulnerable as Zoe was, because poor Zoe, she was like, she was street urchin, wasn't she? Was almost the original. She was the Becky Granger prototype, really. And Leanne's not quite like that. You think Leanne's a bit more savvy than this girl was.
If you want a good career after Coronation Street, go in as an urchin.
Yeah, exactly. Leanne's got a bit more life experience. She's what, 42, 43? I can't remember now. 44. But yeah, I think that it's not out of the question that she could completely get swallowed up by this. And Nick, just imagine the squinting and the look of confusion that's going to... Yeah, they're saying, what, Leanne? I'm all for it. And is Simon going to get sucked into this as well? I mean, it seems like he's already in it. He doesn't realise he's in over his head, but it feels like he is.
I really wouldn't mind joining a cult. If you can just get me to sort my life out, even if it's all an illusion, as long as I don't realise it,
as long as it makes you feel happy.
Give me something to do with my life. That's what I need. Give me some way to filter and process my downloads to re-upload them to the Matrix.
This could be also, Leanne's going to think, is this a way that I can rebond with my son? And, she's always looking for ways to get close to him, and he's
both off talking about their Wi-Fi signals with each other, and Nick's got no idea. It is going to help them bond, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think before Nick realises it, they're both going to be in over their heads. I don't know how. Is this going to be a long-lasting storyline? It doesn't feel like it would be. Where can it go, really? I don't know.
Let's not forget that Leanne did get sucked a little bit into a bit of a woo-woo situation when Ollie died, because she thought that feathers
she did, didn't
were
she?
communicating to her. And
and the red van outside.
Now, I don't necessarily not believe that there's something to maybe signs and signals in the universe. I don't have an opinion one way or another. I would definitely
Gemma will believe the last person that said something about it.
Leanne told me she saw a feather, so I believe her. No, but really, I've heard stories of people, and I do feel there's something meaningful and deep about a communication. If you feel like you've seen something, or if there's a sign, something that means something to you, somebody died and you see a symbol of that person in a place you didn't expect, that's very touching and moving. I've heard loads of stories. I find them very interesting. So I don't want to disparage anybody who thinks they've had an experience like that. I was just listening to Art Bell just earlier. And there was a lady who appeared to her husband after she died as a bird. So
just like Brandon did to Mary.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, you're right. I've forgotten about
that. Has already shown herself to be vulnerable to ideas about her dead son.
See, this is why women shouldn't read.
Yeah, so they can't go, you've written that wrong in the notes.
Anyway, this is great. This is great. Anyway, at the end of the scene, he goes, it's like, oh, I wanted more of that. He goes off and tells her, you've raised a good soul there.
What's he in for, DUI?
Talking about Simon. Huh?
You've raised a good soul there. This guy who's doing community service for drink driving and nearly killing his
but Roy's a good soul as well, and he's under lock and key. Anyway, Leanne goes home and she says, "Oh, Nick, sorry, I was a cow earlier." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry too." And they have a hug and they say, "Oh, let's not get married now. Let's not have people dictate to us. Everything's lovely.
Let's recalibrate our download signals."
I wonder whether this is going to come back on Monday. I don't know. It almost feels like the seed's been sown. Let's let it percolate for a little bit, and it could appear again in 3 weeks' time. But I don't want it to. I want to see what's next.
This could be really interesting because
it could go really wrong.
It could go really wrong in a hilarious way.
Yeah,
which I wouldn't mind either. But I've seen people talking about this because you've given the game away here. This is a cult. She's going to get sucked into a cult.
Sorry. I hope it was clear enough in the episode that there's something a bit cuckoo about
I saw
Rowan.
People talking about this situation and wondering why Toya isn't going to be the target of this. Definitely could have been. Who knows if she will also get sucked into this? But I think it's definitely interesting to consider that Toya will very well know the hallmarks and the signs and the warning signals of somebody who's in danger of joining a cult, because there are, they're very set ways that they operate, and one of the ways that they control people is by alienating them from their relatives. And I think it will be very easy to alienate Leanne and Toya if Leanne thinks she's found the secret to life, and Toya's trying to tell her, "No, I'm a counsellor. I know exactly what they're doing to you. They're manipulating you." That's just going to make Leanne push her away.
Well, I wonder whether they'll try and push her away from Nick as well, especially if he gets the idea that Nick doesn't really want to marry you. He's not really that into you. He doesn't vibe with what we're trying to download here, Leanne. And
he's interrupting the signals.
Yeah, and what's Sam gonna do? Because he's gonna be so completely logical about it, and he'll be like, I've read about things like this, so
exactly. But that doesn't. This is the insidious
he'd probably find
thing.
it fascinating. I imagine Sam might want to go along to a meeting just undercover, just to see what it's like.
But that's the insidious thing about cults, is that once they ensnare somebody, the way that they manipulate you is to make everybody else your enemy. And so the more people are saying to Leanne, "This is crazy, that guy's a kook," the more she's going to reject them and embrace what he's telling her. Yeah. The warning signs will be if she starts being asked for lots of money and she starts being told that, Rowan's the one true voice of reason and only he can tell you, the leader is always right. And I'm
all for this. I think Jane Danson is a cracking actress. I think she's fairly overdue a story. She like Toya and Nick
Very
have had,
busy.
just
when
being
Ollie
in the
died.
bistro. She
Which
was
wasn't that
very
long
busy.
ago.
No, that was what 2020, 2021. But she's just been mostly serving things at the bistro, and I suppose there's been the Damon story as well that she's dipped her toe into.
Yeah.
But
I think they both had sort of dabbling like B/C stories.
Yeah, but and I'm not saying that this is going to be an A
can't be
story.
the A
This is
story.
going to be an A storyline.
Yeah, this
hopefully,
might be a Bobbins Award winner. We don't know.
There's going to be lots of people that don't get on with this.
Well, we don't know. This could be terrible.
I could hate it.
Yeah.
I could come back this week and say, nope, what a load
Depends
of rubbish
on what they
this is.
do with it.
But
I'm really
I'm
gearing up for it though.
Yeah, I'm all for this. And this guy playing Rowan, he was very charming. I instantly thought I could watch a lot more of you.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
If he wanted me to live on a commune, I would. I'm not joining a cult unless there's a commune because I don't see the point of it.
Somebody who's doing the cleaning for you, maybe.
I don't mind doing the cleaning. I don't want to pay a mortgage. That's
yeah.
what I'm thinking of.
Right. Sorry to be a bit of a downer, but we need to talk about the Yasmin and Stu storyline now. But
I just want to say one thing about this cult
go
story
on.
before we go any further. I don't want it to be an issue storyline. I don't want us to be sad. I don't want us to be educated about cults. I feel as though...
No, I don't think that cults are really a thing that people are worried about at the moment.
I don't think that we need to worry about cults. I think there's other things to worry about, so I don't want to be issues.
I mean, I don't know how much of it was in the 90s, to be honest, but I think I've got a feeling that there was a little bit more of a... sinister and the internet's just a new thing and the ideas were coming in.
But I just want to say I understand that it's not a joke and I know that they can be devastating and awful, but I'm not into that part of it. I don't want it to be that.
No, you're right. You're
everything
absolutely
can't
right.
be a warning about the dire consequences of every thing that could possibly happen that's bad to you ever.
I want it to be more like the cult episode of The Simpsons. Do you remember that one with the leader?
I vaguely do.
Series 9.
I'm getting stuck on
We
the
love
stonemason.
the leader. No, not the stonemasons one. That was the...
No, I know.
That was
I know it's different.
That was the Freemason episode. The cult...
Right.
Pop Papa Dom. Come on.
We
Dom's
do.
story, Gemma.
If they've got their own song, I'll join the cult. On Monday, Stu tells Yasmin he's thinking of putting Dom's money into a trust for Eliza, and she's like, good, this is not going to be an issues-based storyline about financial advice for young children with £10,000 to invest, so talk to somebody off-screen about it.
No, I'm going to put it into a trust for Eliza, but first I'm going to put it in my pocket where anybody
I'm
can
just going
find
to put it in a brown envelope.
Yeah.
Eliza comes to speed dial and she's looking for some money, so she goes in his pocket and finds £10,000, and I said, I bet there's a note in there as a joke, but then she finds a note.
Not a money note, a written note.
A written note. Dear Stu, thanks for the money, but I don't want to sell my daughter to you for £10,000. Lots of love, Dom. P.S. I love your cooking and your accent. And Eliza's like, what does this mean? So Stu spills the beans. Tells Eliza he gave Dom the money to go to Germany because he didn't want her heart to be broken. And
now
she
he's got it
says,
back.
and Alia's there as well going, what? I didn't know this. Well, sorry, Alia, but that's what happens when you run off and get pregnant.
Yeah, that was the bit, wasn't it, at the end of today's episode where Yasmin gets the message from Alia saying, oh my gosh, Alia's just sent me a shocking message. And I said to you, she's pregnant, I've just had a baby.
She's had a baby
Who
out of
knew?
nowhere.
I didn't realise I was pregnant because I've been standing behind counters and
Yeah,
holding
and wearing
trays for this
baggy-
time and I've never
baggy
actually
shirts.
seen my own stomach. But it turns out there was a baby in there.
No, the message was the video of
Roy
getting
arrested.
So anyway, Alia's like, well, how come you've got the money back then? And Stu says, well, Dom changed his mind. And Yasmin says yes, but he's still going to Germany. And then Stu says, you've got a half brother, by the way.
Yeah.
Eliza's not prepared for this.
Well, you wouldn't be, would you?
She gets mad. She refused to believe the story that Dom's got another family. And she thinks that Stu's convinced Dom to ditch her, basically. She says, I hate you. Flounces out. Eliza's just not talking to him. Yasmin says, you need to give her time. And Stu says, okay, but he's got to fix this. So on Wednesday, he takes her to the cafe.
Strawberry milkshake sells everything.
She's upset because she thinks her dad doesn't love her anymore, but she wants to see him. And Stu says, well, I've tried to get hold of him, but I can't. So Hope and Eliza and Sam all talk, and Hope tells Eliza to take the bull by the horns and find Dom by pretending to be a worried kid, which she is, and phoning up all the hotels.
Yeah, she just says kind of big up the, oh no, I'm just looking for my dad.
So they basically narrow it down to Chariot Square.
Yeah,
because they're not stupid.
Of course.
They know there's only one hotel. And so Hope goes to ask the receptionist for more information, but it doesn't work. And just as they're about to give up, Dom walks through.
What are the chances?
Walks through the dining room while they're there. And she runs up to him and says, I wanted to talk to you about before you went to Germany. I'm sorry that Stu's ruined everything for us, but why didn't you tell me I had a brother? And he says that I love you just as much as I love Ben. That's his name, by the way, in case you wondered. And Ben is German for Ben. And Stu gets a phone call then from the school to say Eliza's done a bunk. And then just as what happens then? Stu and Eliza come down the stairs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Stu and Eliza come down the stairs.
Dom and Eliza come. No.
Where have they been?
No. Simon.
Anyway.
Sam and Eliza. No. Dom. Yeah. Dom and Eliza have been at the hotel, and Stu's back at the speed dial going, I wonder where Eliza is, and then they turn up. Simple.
I'm here. And they have a make-up chat where everyone talks to each other, but Dom's going to Germany the day after tomorrow.
That's Monday's episode.
I wish they would just... I know they can't, but why don't they just say a day?
They do sometimes.
They're like, the football's on, we've got to be vague about this.
I'll tell you what, football, I'm used to it cancelling Coronation Street, but no gladiators tomorrow because of the football.
No, I thought
Shocking.
it was Red Nose Day.
What? Red Nose Day is today.
Oh, I don't know when Red Nose Day is.
Red Nose Day is Friday. It's bloody football. Or something, or rugby, or one of those sports getting in the way of the Gladiators final tomorrow. I'm going to write.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't know the difference between Red Nose Day and Pudsey Bear Day. What's that called?
Children in Need.
Yeah.
Just come on.
They're all the same to me. They're all the same to me.
Sorry.
Right. Hooray. I'm going to Germany. And Eliza says, I want to go to Germany too. And they both say, no, you're not. And that's it. But then
Stu's kind of looking a bit disappointed because he wants what's best for Eliza, but he also wants to keep her, and he's like, oh, but would she be better with her dad? Maybe she would. Maybe he's not such a bad egg after all.
He's not such a baguette. On Friday, she's studying German, is Eliza, and then a speed dial meeting with Stu and Dom. And Stu says, take her to Germany. She's really boring. And Dom says, great. I'll have to ask my wife, but whatever. And Eliza...
I don't think Ava's his wife.
Girlfriend, ex-wife, mother of my child.
That's the one.
Dom says, come to Hamburg. And then Stu says, I'll pay for you to go to an English school so you don't have to learn icky German.
Well, I know, it's an international school, isn't it?
That speaks English.
Yeah.
And then that's it. All you have to know is that hopefully Eliza's going to Germany with Dom.
That's basically it, isn't it? Do you think that she will, though? I don't
understand the point of it if she does, but hey.
It feels like it's the end of the story, but I refuse to believe that this Bridget Lucy in prison storyline is over. I'm so utterly convinced that we've been fed the wrong information. Oh my gosh, it's another bloody email. We've been fed the wrong information about the death of this poor waitress.
I know, I can't get over that.
And until they revisit that and tell us what happened, Eliza can't leave the programme. And I don't think she will. I mean, it feels like, she's staying, but I could be completely wrong.
Could be wrong.
I really enjoyed Eliza when she first came in. It's just everything that's happened since then. How long's this story been going on? It feels like months and months and months. It's been the real black sheep of Coronation Street.
But she's been going on about, my mum, and now she's going to a different country. She won't be able to even see him anymore.
Won't be able to go to visit her mum over there, no. Do you think, I want you to make your bet here, is Eliza going to be going? Is she leaving the programme? Is next week her final week on Coronation Street?
I live in hope.
I don't want to. I'd like her to stay and just have a more interesting story. It's not her fault.
But can I just say...
just a little one.
No, listen, can I just explain? Because I think this should be obvious, but I know that some people still don't get it. That just because I don't like a character, and their storylines doesn't mean I hate the actress or the actor.
No, and sometimes it's better for a character if they go. It feels like she had more potential, and it'd be a bit of a waste if she went. But just everything revolving around
every
this group
single
of characters.
Time Stu and Eliza turn up on the screen, I just go, well, this is going to be boring.
Yeah, no, I get it.
We don't care about Stu enough to really care if Eliza stays or goes, because
I'd much rather that Yasmin was freed up from this little story arc and was put onto Roy's story this year. So maybe this is for the best. I don't know.
Yes,
Hope was good in there.
I'm sorry.
Sam was fun. Oh,
I didn't like it. I don't like them, but I don't.
I guess it was part of this story. The highlight of this story for me was Sam and his chess and Hope's reaction to him getting the chess set out.
Yeah, she rolled her eyes. Oh my god.
No, she's like, why am I still with this guy? They've been dating. Oh no, they had the breakup, didn't they? It was a year ago this week that they had their date, and Sam wore his little tie and suit. But yeah, they did have a break period in between. That was fun. I also liked the line that they gave Sam when they turned up at the hotel, and Hope was like, "Are you okay with this bunking off school?" And Sam was like, "Well, last week I told my dad that I was doing my homework, but I was actually watching chess videos online." Sort of square Sam. Loved it. So the bullying storyline this week, we were just going to blast through the rest of the stories now, because they really like I said, they played second fiddle to the Lauren one. But as we mentioned right at the very beginning, Sean's looking for flats on Mondays, but he can't find anywhere that fits his budget. Eileen's like, there's no rush. She's looking regretful about the whole thing, and it's making me wonder, are they actually going to leave, or is it a case that they just needed an excuse for Sean to go to the flat to find the blood stain? I don't know, but anyway, for the time being, they are being kicked out of number 11, and Dylan's still under suspicion of being involved with Mason, and Sean makes him promise that he is not still consorting with him, and Dylan was like, no, when was it George? No, Gary spotted me with him last week, whoever it was, I was just telling him I'm not interested.
But he is still talking to him, kind of, isn't he?
Yeah, kind of. He's
too scared to tell him to bog off.
Yeah, he's not
He's not taking orders from him anymore.
Well, no, because his bullying's he's got to be a bit on the down low at the moment, because he's under suspicion. I mean, we later find out this episode that that Mason has been arrested because his prints were found to have been on the knife. He's been charged. He's facing young offenders, and I'm thinking, there was a bit of a missed scene there. We've been watching and hating and booing whenever Mason comes on for the past 4, 5, 6 months, and we were denied the chance to see him get arrested, to see that smug smile wiped off his face.
I think that would be a cathartic moment for a lot of people that they were robbed of, but it makes me wonder whether Coronation Street was concerned that would take the impact away from a future comeuppance scene they have planned for Mason.
Yeah, because this can't be the end for Mason. No, it can't be. It's not. He's been a big enough character that he would get some kind of exit.
On screen exit.
I mean, I don't believe that he's still going to be in the show in 6 months, 12 months, which would be a shame because I am actually enjoying him. But I'd like to have seen this and his actual Alexa. I don't know. But anyway, we don't get to see this. But
we do get to see a lesson about fossils.
Yes, we did. Maria's got the old CGP exercise books, and if you're from the UK and of a certain, well, in fact, not even a certain age, CGP was a revision guide when we were at school, and they're still going strong now. So I'm sure everybody was able to relate to that shared experience.
But it did drive me bonkers because Maria seemed to think that Liam had to memorise precisely the wording of a sentence about fossils, and that proved that he knew everything about fossils.
Yeah, just parrot it back. That's all you need to be able to do. I told you the other day that they should have. She should have invited Audrey round and said, "I've brought a live fossil here for you." Anyway,
rude.
Gary's got a school bell. That was kind of fun.
And they've got a box of exercise books because they vastly overestimate the number of exercise books one boy will get through between now and when his exams are, which will be the end of...
I can't remember
May? beginning
but
of June?
is it this year or is it next year that he's doing them?
Oh, I don't
Either
know.
way, they've got far too many exercise books for what you need, and Maria seems to think that colour's most important, whereas obviously if you need a maths exercise book, it's got to have squares in it
And she
not
also,
lines.
at one point, brandishes a mixed pack, which should have been the only pack she bought.
I know. She's got a big shrink wrap, like blue exercise books and red ones, and then just a mixed one. That is all you need. I mean, I don't blame her. I'd probably get a bit overexcited.
I would love it. I would go to Staples and buy everything.
Well, this is one of the major perks of my position at school at the moment. I'm in charge of the stationery ordering, so I get to say, what colour should we have the literacy books? How many of these shall I get? I get this. So it is very exciting. Maria.
I used to be in charge of ordering the stationery for a charity that I worked at, and we had a lot more post-it notes than we should really have had because they were just so much fun to buy.
I don't know whether I'd necessarily believe that Maria was a into stationery kind of girl, but
no, she talked to Gary and Liam about how much fun it is to start off with a new exercise book, and I think we all love that. That was one of the few things I genuinely loved about school, was like beginning in September. You buy all your stuff. You go to like W.H. Smith and you get your little protractor and you get your pencil case. You pick what kind of colours you're going to have for your pens and your pencils, and you get a new backpack and your lunchbox, and then you start and you have all these good intentions. You open your exercise book. Everything's nice and crisp. Did you have to cover your books?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah,
I remember going to DIY shops and having to buy
wallpaper.
Sticky back and using old offcuts of wallpaper and covering your books with it.
By the time Maria's done all this with Liam, it'll all blown over and he'll be able to go back to school, and maybe he's missed his GCSEs.
The fact that they find out that Mason's been charged and they still have a lesson about fossils, like, I'll be like, right, kid, you're going back to school. I'm not doing this. How has Maria got time for this? If she's got time to read from a textbook about fossils, she's got time to take him to school, because one of the main arguments about one of the schools that they didn't want to take him to was that it was 2 bus rides away. I think I'd rather take my kid in the car in the morning to school and back than teach him all day long from a textbook, but that's just me.
Especially when I've got a job. Anyway, that was basically it. There's another bit of a reminder that Dylan's going to plead guilty, even though he doesn't really need to.
Dee Dee's involved in all of these stories.
I really, I did respect Dylan, and I know that he's still getting a lot of hate online, and lots of people are saying, why should we be feeling sorry for Dylan? He was absolutely vile, and I absolutely get that, but I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. I'm sorry, and
he was better
scared.
than some people would have done. Who are giving it a good chat. I think I don't think it's realistic to expect everybody to go, I shall not be horrible, I'd rather be a victim as well. He's taken accountability, and although he's still lying about some things, he is not going to plead not guilty because he said he needs to be punished. Yeah. So I think,
because he's found out that Liam was contemplating suicide, and he's like, well, look, my mate could have died because of me. I only followed along with Mason because I wanted to be cool, and Liam could have died. I'm pleading guilty, and that's that. And Sean's like, no, don't plead guilty, whatever you do. But so I do have a bit of respect for Dylan for wanting to stick to his guns there.
Social media, there are no bullies or bullies henchmen in real life, because everybody would be too morally upstanding to ever get into the position that Dylan found himself in.
Of course. As soon as they ended the episode like that, I thought this feels like a nice little pause point for this story. We'll come back in a few weeks when Dylan has the opportunity to plead one way or the other. I don't know what he's going to do.
I've lost interest in what happens to Dylan now.
I'm not uninterested.
I know, but he's not gonna go to prison, is he?
Well, I hope not. I mean, maybe he's going to end up at the flipping place that Daniel's teaching in. He's going to end up at the Institute with Simon.
Yeah. This is just feels to me exactly what's going on with Simon. Kid gets himself in trouble, gets in over his head, gets caught by the police. The police say you got to go to court. Go to court. The judge says, ooh, shouldn't have done that. Community service.
The end.
Do you not feel like it's going that way? How many court scenes do we need to have with Adam or Dee Dee standing there going, very sorry, Your Honour, I didn't even mean it. It was really, really bad. Okay, then. Well, don't do it again. unless you're what's her face? I keep getting it and it keeps going back out of my head.
Forgetting names.
Gemma's mum.
Bernie
Bernie didn't get to get away with it, did she?
No. Oh, I've just remembered. I have seen a spoiler about next week's Coronation Street, and this storyline does still feature. That's not a storyline to mention, is it? That's not a spoiler. Sorry to say that this storyline will appear next week.
Yes, it is a spoiler.
No, it's not. I'm not saying what's happening. Anyway.
Is it my go?
Yeah, just what's been going on with Sarah.
Oh, Sarah and Damon. Oh. They're looking at flats together. Wow, flats. Gail's sceptical that Sarah's going to be able to deal with a fixer-upper. I agree with her. I don't also know why Damon's so handy all of a sudden. If he's so good at doing up houses, why isn't he flipping houses instead of dealing drugs? Gail comes to see them at their flat and they don't like it. The place they went to go see. This is really boring. And Gail says, "Why don't you stay here? It's lovely." And Damon's like, "Gail, are you touched? We have to get out of here because this is Adam's house, basically." Then Damon phones Harvey and says, "What job is this that you want me to do? And how much money am I getting for it?" And Harvey says, "What am I going to get out of it?" And Damon says, Harvey says, "Well, I'm not going to kill Sarah, so that should be enough for you."
Yeah.
And Damon says, "I'll just run away and tell everyone about you, and unless you give me the money." And we still don't know what this is.
No.
Maybe it's killing Lauren.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, she's dead already." Well, later on, Damon tells Sarah that he's spoken to a financial advisor because Stu asked him about how to invest £10,000 for Eliza. That's a joke.
Oh, I thought I'd missed something.
Damon says, "We can buy this place," and then she goes off to get Prosecco. So he's basically saying, "Don't worry, Sarah, I've got a legal way of earning money, but actually, no, secretly I'm doing some dodgy dealings with my brother."
Right. Not particularly exciting, that story, was it?
I'm really... But then again, we said this about Lauren's Mystery Man. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be interesting when it's revealed. So this secret job that they've got, I'm like, I don't care. But I hope it is something actually interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think it could be? Do you think he's got some overdue library books and he wants to get him to sneak him into the library and put them on the shelves?
Yeah, without
and
getting
then
him a
the
fine.
librarian will be like, "Oh, they were here the whole time. I'll cancel that fine. I guess he can be released from jail."
You hit the nail on the head there. Okay, right. Then we have the Linda story. She
made some chicken casserole.
Back from Portugal. She's not gone. And Joseph's
got Lyme disease.
The story is, do you remember that? Do you remember the lessons that we learned about Lyme disease?
What? I don't even...
Because of Joseph's Lyme disease, he's behind with school.
He can't
because
do physics.
So what's he
That must be my problem.
Did you have undiagnosed Lyme disease? So God, Bennett, this was not that gripping, was it? Basically, Linda says, "I think that Joseph should go to Oakhill," which seems to be a story that I like to trot out once every 5 years or so. Somebody suggesting that somebody should go to Oakhill, and
I'll pay for it, she says.
Yeah, Chesney's always hated the idea that Linda could pay for anything. I was waiting for it to be brought up that Chesney was considered for Oakhill at one point. I don't know. I can't remember whether you were watching then or what, but I think you possibly were. I don't know. But yeah, he was when he was a bit of a child genius. It was when Rosie was also going to Oakhill. And Chesney went along to an open day and he was quite clever and there was the possibility of him getting a scholarship there. But I can't remember why they didn't do it in the end. It kind of petered out into nothing. But yeah, Chesney, in another life, could have gone to Oakhill himself and that didn't get brought up for some reason. But anyway, Chesney's just having a moan about it.
He tells Gemma she doesn't like it because...
Gemma's the one that's the most affronted with the idea, I think.
She's offended of the idea that Joseph needs extra help because it makes it seem like they're not doing enough. She also doesn't like Linda telling them what to do, and she doesn't like Linda lording it over them with how much more money that she has. Yeah.
But Linda is quite insistent and she's got the brochures out and everything.
She's shown Joseph, which is so bad.
I know, it's very manipulative.
Going behind the parents' back to get this kid excited about wanting to go to a school that's got a brochure How many schools have got a brochure?
Well, we've got our online prospectus. You can print it out on glossy
Where's
paper
your
if you
swimming
want.
pool?
Got a puddle out the back. Gemma on Friday is moaning on to all who'll care to listen to her in the pub. We also have the scene, didn't we, with Izzy and Linda. They get a scene together.
I love
mother
this.
and daughter. Why did you love it?
Because it was hilarious. Because Izzy's like, have you forgotten that you also have another grandchild called Jake? And why can't he go to Oakhill? He's also been traumatised. He's got a sob story, as long as your arm. Joseph's not the only one. He's had a hard life, thanks.
Yeah, Linda's like, I love them both equally. And Izzy's like, oh, wonderful, they can both go, can they? I thought Izzy was quite fun in this scene.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. Anyway, Linda realises she can't win and Izzy flounces off. Gemma bangs on to Dee Dee and Paul about it. Paul's just more philosophical about the whole thing. It really literally is, isn't it? When was he told he's got 6 months left?
Like December.
Was it? I thought it was earlier than that.
We definitely thought we wondered if Bernie would be out.
Yeah, Bernie went to jail in early December and he had his diagnosis by then.
Can I just point out that
the clock's ticking,
it's
Paul.
the diagnosis. It's not like the doctor's going to come around in 6 months and chop your head off. Sorry, you've had your 6 months.
I was right.
I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
So I said to Lauren.
The Paul story really needs to ramp up some more because it's been a long time since we've seen it.
I like Paul being alive, so I don't mind.
Yeah, you're right. And he was lovely. He was very, very helpful brotherly, wasn't he? Just saying, you know what? If they want him to go to Oakhill, what's the problem with that?
I can see both sides of this because, on the one hand, how dreadful to have Joseph being given this opportunity denied to the rest of the family, and wouldn't that just already cause a massive rift? He's already going to be alienated a little bit because I think being quads, these 4 kids are going to be much tighter than normal siblings, so he's going to feel isolated from them anyway. There's a massive age gap, and now he's going to be private schooled, or maybe, But on the other hand, it's not fair to Joseph to say you can't go to this school because it's not fair on everyone else. That's just silly, isn't it?
Yeah, but he also just trying to what she was doing, what Linda was doing to try and big up the school to him. It was, like we said,
just
quite manipulative, and it would be taken away from all his friends, and he might be, swept along with the idea of a posh school with a swimming pool, but by the time he got there, he might be, Hope's not here.
Well, also. Gemma's not wrong when she's coming at it from the different perspective of like not wanting I don't know,
not wanting him to go for a lardy-darg school, and
I think she's being more realistic than everybody else about the social barriers that will exist for Joseph, because he's not just from a working class family, he's from an incredibly impoverished family.
Yeah, I can imagine the other Oakhill school kids completely turning their noses up at him.
They're not gonna get on with him. He's gonna just be surrounded by people that live vastly different lives to him.
And he's not the sort of kid who's gonna fight his own battles, is he? He's a little slip of a thing. He's
alienated at school and at home because he's going to be different from his family and he's going to be different from his school friends.
Yeah. But the end of the episode, as we are at the moment, is like, well, maybe he'll be going then. And Paul's like, I did my job, everybody's happy.
If he genuinely is going to get a better education... the thing is about it is a private school is more about networking than it is about education. And I don't think you can't convince me otherwise. But how much of that can you really actually do if your family is as poor as Joseph is and you're surrounded by rich people? Then they can't, Joseph, is he going to get invited to a skiing trip by his new best friend's family who expect him to have his own ski boots and pay for his own, airfare? And
yeah, but the thing is, as long as Linda's on the scene, she probably would cough up if he needed it.
Honestly, he should have gone to live in Portugal.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was on the cards, wasn't it?
I know, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Anyway, that was that story. I also, I did feel sympathetic with Joseph with his circuit homework because I too find electricity topics at school quite complicated. We're doing it at the moment, and I told the kids a couple of weeks ago. Most of the time, I know I really understand what I'm telling you, children. But I tell you what, we're doing an electricity lesson now, and I always find electricity it's a bit of a blind spot for me. I find it difficult.
Is it not just like it goes in a direction?
It's all the bits about electrons and charge and
Photons.
ampage, and I find it difficult. I teach it well enough.
All right, I think.
But we watched some
obviously
videos of
don't know
it, but it's
about
been a proper blind spot for me. So yeah, I have sympathy for Joseph there. Okay, what else did we have? The Tommy O story. I think that's it for today. So do you want to sum up this one quickly? You don't have to sound so disappointed about it.
Okay, on Wednesday, I think that Tracy's wondering where her Mother's Day card is.
Yeah.
And Amy's like, no, I'm mad at you. Everybody in this family is just acting like a child. And I know that Amy is the child, but she's more mature than this normally.
Well, even she's 18, 19 now, isn't she?
Yeah. So she goes to she says, I'll go to the bistro with you. But when Amy gets there, she's really annoyed to see that Tracy's invited Tommy along to try to get them to get to know each other.
I'd lost track of the situation because I thought that Tommy had maybe gone, and I didn't even
realize.
Steve mentions in today's episode that he's
Spain.
going to Spain and Tracy doesn't know, but I didn't realise that Tracy was still in some kind of relationship with him, because he turns up and she says, "Oh, hello, darling." So clearly they've been carrying on
That's what
off
I
screen.
said. Tracy's tricked Amy to come to get to know Tommy.
Yeah.
So Amy rebels by ordering the most expensive bottle of champagne, which I would love to know how much that is, on the bistro menu. And he's trying to Tommy's trying to make, chat to Amy about her university. He's trying his hardest. And she gets a bit drunk, and Steve gets offended when he realises that she was with Tommy later on Friday.
Yeah, on Friday.
I didn't get this. It felt like this story happened on the same day, but it didn't. No,
the Wednesday episode ends with her just saying to him, "Oh yeah, I had fun with Mum," but she doesn't mention Tommy, and then it turns out on Friday's episode when Toya puts her foot in her mouth and. Well, go on.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I got confused about how when this happened.
But it wasn't the most memorable of stories, was it? It was fine.
Because Amy says, let's have a movie night. He wants to watch Point Break. And then Toya tells Steve that Amy was in the bistro with Tommy and Tracy. And Steve is heartbroken. But when he reveals to Amy about it, he doesn't mind or whatever.
No, he revealed...
Well, he tells Amy that Tommy's going to live in Spain, but don't tell anybody. Tracy doesn't know, and Amy's like, interesting.
Yeah, but it wasn't that interesting, was it? It was fine. It was, it did what it needed to do. It kept the story fresh in our heads. I thought that Amy was quite fun in the bistro scene when she was trying her best to be
rude.
Yeah, to be rude to this guy that's knocking off her mum when her dad's still just down the street. I have got no issues at all with Tommy, despite the fact that he's been a bit of a home wrecker here. He does seem like a genuinely nice guy, but yeah, this was never supposed to be the A story of the week or anything close to it. So that is this week's Coronation Street. I did quite enjoy. I don't think there was. I still don't think it properly reached the highs that it could have done. Only because, as much as I loved the Roy storyline, everything else felt like it was just plugging a few gaps. And I think if they'd have gone full pelt with just the Cropper storyline this week, that would have been better, because I didn't need the Stu and Eliza stuff. The bullying storyline, it was just bits and pieces. The Damon was just filling up time.
Yeah, but then you get to like 2 weeks' time and we're like, well, why didn't they have this? They should have dripped this in. They should have taken longer to develop. It's happening all at once. Can't have it all, Michael.
No, I think.
And no matter what they do, we'd have some kind of thing to say about why they shouldn't have done it that way.
I think I'm going to give this week's Coronation Street 4 pine cones in the soft interview room out of 5.
Oh, how tastefully arranged.
Thank you. Character of the week's a tricky one. It's difficult, it's easy to go for Roy possibly, or Swain was fun. I think it's going to be. Or do I do someone that's, someone like Carla who's just supportive of Roy? I I think I'm going to go Roy. It's got to be Roy this week. And David Nilsson in tonight's episode was just so wonderful in his performance. And I feel sorry for him. Poor old Roy. What about you? Who are you going for?
I'm going to go for 4 stolen scrambled egg recipes because that was preposterous. The concept that you can steal a scrambled egg recipe and the fact that Nick...
Well, if you put chives on it, it's original creation.
The fact that Nick thinks he can recognise a recipe and he thinks that he owns the idea of putting chives on an egg. That was great.
Character of the week for you?
Swain, because I just loved the crime scene investigation and her putting it together. And I think I've heard interviews where the actress is saying that she thinks that people are going to be mad at her for arresting Roy, and I've definitely seen comments along those lines, but the evidence is there. It's logical. I can't see how I think you would be irresponsible if you didn't at this point.
And I think I said as much to her when I spoke to her the other day, that I think Corrie viewers are used enough now at the Weatherfield cops not always getting the right person the right time, that we'll end up forgiving them. We know it's just for the drama of it.
It's just for the drama.
Yeah. Anyway, so 2 4s. That's not a bad week at all. Good job,
That
Corrie.
makes 8.